This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Silent tactic. Christian Torres drawing away to win the Southwest Stakes. Soldier and Diplomat, second best. He was in a photo, but I think he got it over Butane and then Rancho Santa Fe. Silent tactic gets it and picks up 20 Kentucky Derby points.
And here's Golden Tempo, who's rattling home up the rail for Jose Ortiz, but well inside the final 16th. It is still Carson Street. Golden Tempo coming full on. Golden Tempo is a top-notch victory. Golden Tempo has rallied to win the Lecomte.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Liberty National finishing up well toward the inside. Quality Mischief also trying to join these at the finish. It's Crown the Buckeye. Crown the Buckeye near home. Chip Poncho on the outside getting up. Chip Poncho has won it in the final strides in the Gunrunner Stakes. Chip Poncho determined. Paladin charging hard on the outside. Carson Street is third. Golden Tempo's fourth, with Universe in fifth. Paladin tries to track down Chip Poncho. Here's Paladin with power and purpose to win the Resistar.
Now here's Mike Penna.
Good morning once again, everyone. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, welcoming you to the show that launched a network. It is the Equine Forum, and it is all presented by our friends at TwinSpires, and all right here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. As always, you are listening nationwide on Sirius 162, XM 207, along with our terrestrial partners, and live streaming worldwide on our website, horseracingradio.net, or wherever you access your podcasts. A bit of a slower weekend in the world of thoroughbred racing, at least as it pertains to the Kentucky Derby picture, right? You don't have a plethora of greatest stakes races. We're going to see those next weekend. But you do have the John Battaglia Memorial at Turfway Park, which very well could provide us with at least a couple of Kentucky Derby hopefuls. Whether you want to consider them contenders or pretenders remains to be seen. The horses competing in the John Battaglia, probably not regarded as the most prolific Derby horses that we're going to see. But it doesn't mean you're not going to see the Derby winner racing in the John Battaglia today. We don't know. We'll find out on the first Saturday in May. Street Beast is going to be among the favorites, if not the favorite, in the John Battaglia. Which, by the way, that race run tonight, 9:55 Eastern Time is the post, mile and a 16th on the all-weather at Turfway. A fun little rematch there, too, between Street Beast and Full Effort, who were 1-2 last time out in the Leonidas Stakes. That was on January 17th. Street Beast took the field wire to wire that day, and Full Effort ran well to be beaten just a length in his effort. Street Beast now has to overcome the inside post position, but with his early speed, you wouldn't think that would be an issue, assuming he breaks well. He's a horse that, in all 5 of his career starts, has been, if not on the lead, like he was in his last race, forwardly placed. Never worse than third in the early going. So, yeah, he can sit behind horses. But I think they would prefer he doesn't have to deal with any significant traffic trouble. And I'm going to talk to Davant Latham, the owner of Street Beast, coming up later in the program. You'll hear from him right around 9:20 Eastern Time. He is the man behind Midway Racing. Has had some really nice success, and now hoping Street Beast can continue that success later today. Again, 9:55 Eastern, the post for that John Battaglia. I'm also going to welcome to the program today Kevin Kerstein, a very popular guest. You hear from him several times throughout the year. He's one of my favorite people to speak with here on the program when it comes to racing in Kentucky, but more so the big picture, the road to the Kentucky Derby, the road to the Kentucky Oaks, because Kevin, he's so good. I mean, he knows all of these horses inside and out. So we're going to get a few comments from Kevin talking about not just the leaders in both the Oaks and the Derby pictures right now, but maybe a couple of under-the-radar horses you can keep an eye on as we make our way closer to that first Saturday in May. He'll talk about the future wagering and how Paladin closes as the individual betting choice. All others favored, as is typically the case with those Kentucky Derby future wagers. But Paladin, after his win in the Risen Star last weekend, is now the horse that a lot of people are looking at saying, okay, you're the one to beat. You're the one that we expected to be at the head of the class or right up there after what we saw from you as a 2-year-old. You didn't disappoint us last weekend in the Risen Star. And I think that the connections of Paladin, trainer Chad Brown, and all the ownerships have to be very happy with what they saw last weekend. Probably exactly what they wanted to see. And it's even better when it comes with a win. We talk about, each and every week, we talk about the fact that winning these races now in mid-February isn't the end goal. You want to see your horse finishing well. You want to see your horse show you that he belongs and that he deserves to be in the contender category. Well, they saw all of that from Paladin, and then they got the bonus of getting the win last weekend too. So congratulations to the connections there. One man who was hoping that Paladin doesn't turn out to be the horse to beat in the Derby picture is dual Hall of Fame trainer Mark Casse. And you're going to hear from Mark right around 8:35 Eastern Time this morning, later in this first hour. Mark sent out Silent Tactic to win the Southwest, who defeated his stablemate Strategic Risk in that race, but Strategic Risk didn't show up. He ends up finishing 10th. And Silent Tactic turns the tables on him. So Mark has a couple of talented 3-year-olds there. He was hoping that Ewing would emerge as a horse that we could call a contender for the Kentucky Derby. Didn't happen. He ran in the Ozark Stakes last weekend, ends up finishing 6th. His first start since winning the Saratoga Special last summer at Saratoga. Mark will talk about Ewing. He's also going to talk about a couple of his older stable stars in Nitrogen, the champion from last year, the Eclipse champion, who came back here in 2026 to win the Bayakoa Stakes. Great start to her campaign. And Sandman, last year's Arkansas Derby winner, the horse that a lot of people, he was kind of a buzz horse at the Kentucky Derby, right? Well, Sandman came back the same day as Nitrogen, February 7th, and ends up finishing 5th in his return in an allowance race. How did Mark feel about that performance? Did he lose faith in Sandman after that race? You'll hear him talk about that coming up in just a little bit. I'll ask him those questions right around 8:35 Eastern Time. And this is a great opportunity because of the fact that you don't have a slew of Derby prep races, Oaks prep races, the big-time points races this weekend. This is a really good show here this morning to look back on some of the horses that have won points races earlier this season. And one of those is Talk to Me Jimmy, the New York bred who won the Withers, dominated the Withers. Trained by Rudy Rodriguez, who has been in the headlines over the past couple of months for other reasons that I'm sure he would rather not be in the headlines for. Being provisionally suspended by HISA last December. That suspension lifted here this year. So now he is allowed to run his horses again. And there are several stipulations involved with lifting that suspension for Rudy Rodriguez. But because that suspension was lifted, he was able to send out Talk to Me Jimmy to win the Withers. And he looked really good doing it. What he was beating, we don't know. Much like the John Battaglia Memorial, the Withers, probably not the race that you would look to and say, yep, that's the race that we're going to see the Derby winner in. It can happen. Sure, it could. Talk to Me Jimmy could go on and he could win the Triple Crown. We don't know yet, and that's the beauty of this time of the year. But you're going to hear from Rudy coming up in just a few minutes, right around 8:15 Eastern time after this first break. And he's going to talk about where he sees Talk to Me Jimmy right now. What did he take away from that Withers performance? And what does Talk to Me Jimmy still need to show him going forward to prove that he can be a contender when if he gets to Churchill Downs on the first Saturday in May? Doug O'Neill had a big win last weekend too, didn't he? Pavlovian taking the Sunland Park Derby. And there you go. There's another. Let's call it a B-level prep, if you will. Mind that Bird would disagree. He'd say, no, it's an A-level prep, Baron. Chip Woolley would probably say the same thing. But I think regarded as a B-level prep race, doesn't matter. They won it. They got points. Doug O'Neill now has plenty of options with Pavlovian, and he can prove that he's the real deal, that he's a horse that belongs in the contender category as he moves forward. And you're going to hear from Doug O'Neill. He'll be here bright and early on the West Coast. He'll be here 9:40 Eastern time, which is 6:40 out west. We'll get Doug. He's up anyway. He's a horse trainer. We'll get him on the phone with us coming up to talk about Pavlovian. And I thought this was kind of a cool angle, too. It was 10 years ago that Nyquist gave him his first win in the Kentucky Derby. So the 10-year anniversary of that very special day. We'll look back on Nyquist, and now he's become a super sire, standing out there at Darley. We'll talk to Doug all about that coming up later in the program. Joe Kristufek is going to be here 10 o'clock Eastern with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History at 10:20, a story about a horse named Timely Rider. Really cool angle this morning, so stay tuned for that. And then at 10:30 Eastern, Dale, Tim, I Ask, They Answer. So it's a really busy show. Here's the lineup. Rudy Rodriguez, 8:15, about 5 minutes from now. Mark Casse, 8:35. 9 o'clock Eastern, Kevin Kerstein. Davant Latham, our Kentucky-bred conversation on this Saturday morning, talking about Street Beast. Doug O'Neill, 9:40. And then Joe Kristufek, Kurt Becker, and Dale and Tim. Every week we kick off here in the first segment of the show, we kick things off by bringing you our Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question. Lee Delapina has it for you right now. Lee?
Thank you, Mike. This week's Impossible Trivia question is brought to you by Mojo Racing Partners. Get your mojo working at mojoracingpartners.com. Okay, we're going to go all the way back to the beginning for this one. What horse was the first thoroughbred ever to be imported into the United States? No Googling. We'll give out the answer at the end of the show.
All right. Get your mojo working. The answer coming your way right around 10:55 Eastern. Poll question this morning. Which racetrack is the Kentucky Derby winner going to come from? You know, we see horses prepping at Gulfstream. We see horses prepping at Tampa. We see horses prepping at Oaklawn and Fairgrounds and Aqueduct and Santa Anita. Which racetrack is the Kentucky Derby winner likely to come from? That's your poll question for you this morning. Let me know your thoughts. No multiple choice here today. You're going to have to type out your answer. But you can do that at HRRN on X, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, or you can email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net. If you're a Paladin fan, you're thinking, okay, he comes from the Fairgrounds. Maybe you like Nearly. Okay. Your answer is then going to be Gulfstream Park. And maybe it's Talk to Me Jimmy. Maybe he's your favorite horse. I'm going to talk about him in a minute. Well, then you're looking at Aqueduct as your track. So let me know your thoughts on that poll question here this morning, and I'll pass along the results as we move throughout the show. Rudy Rodriguez coming up next. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Coolmore Stallion Corniche, a $1.5 million OBS April sale topper by Quality Road and a two-time Grade 1 winner.
But it's Corniche. He's just too good. Corniche wins the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Voted champion 2-year-old male following his win in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, it's no surprise his 72 yearlings sold for an average of over $170,000, with a top-price colt of $725,000 and a top-price filly of $525,000. Corniche standing for only $15,000 at Coolmore's Ashford Stud.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Grittiness starts to run on for the back, but can Talk to Me Jimmy keep this going? A quarter mile left to go. Talk to Me Jimmy reaches the top of the stretch. Schoolyard Superman is trying to pick up this leader who's sprinting clear. It's Talk to Me Jimmy. Still Schoolyard Superman battling on. Grittiness, but with a furlong left to go. Talk to Me Jimmy is just opening up here. Talk to Me Jimmy, Ruben Silvera, they are going to dominate with a front-running score in the Withers. Grittiness up for second, Otinho third, and Schoolyard Superman in 1 minute 51.68 seconds.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you right up until 11 a.m. Eastern. That was Chris Griffin with the call of the Withers, and a dominating performance by Talk to Me Jimmy, the New York bred, who is now on the Derby trail after an effort like that. He is currently 12th on the points list. So if the Kentucky Derby were to be run today, Talk to Me Jimmy is in. He's going to have to do more if he wants to stay in the starting gate if he can get to the first Saturday in May. But that's exactly what his trainer Rudy Rodriguez is hoping is going to happen, and he joins me now here on HRRN. Rudy, appreciate the time.
Good morning, guys. Good morning.
Good morning, Rudy. Listen, I'm just talking about that Withers performance. It was brilliant. What did you take away from that effort?
No, he just keep improving. It's a nice little horse that I was just lucky enough that the owners keep it with me with the situation I was going through. Very patient guy, so I'm just blessed to win the Withers and see him perform that way. The plan was to run him in the Jerome early, but then with the situation was there. But he just a horse that he keep improving.
After he crosses the finish line and he runs so impressively and he wins by such a wide margin, what was going through your mind after that race?
I just was very, very happy to see him perform the way he did it. I know the owners are very, very excited because it's one of the first horses that we bought the first time we went to Keeneland. So, yes, the whole team, it's very, very, very rewarding to see him run that way, especially when I buy the horse myself. We don't got that much money behind us. So, just see him crossing the wire like that and dominate the field, very, very impressive. So, right from the get-go, he looked like he wanted to go. Our intention when we bought him, just give him enough time to grow. And he's a big, nice-looking horse. He just keep improving. We was a little setback with a little chin that we have at the beginning. And I think just help us big time where we are right now for sure.
Rudy, you talk about picking him out at the sales. That, as you said, happened at Keeneland September. You paid $31,000 for him, which is not a huge number for a racehorse at a public auction. He's now earned $163,000. Great value, wonderful selection. What was it that you saw in him at the sale that you said, okay, we have to have this horse?
We just looking for New York breds that they can compete in New York. And, at the same time, we're looking for something to step up, for sure. The budget was not too crazy, the one we was looking up. And we were just looking for something to have fun, something to get competitive and just trying to win some races, we pay a little money. The horse was nice looking, big horse. He got nice long legs. I thought he couldn't compete in the New York bred races, even though I was looking for the horses that compete in the $500,000 race. I don't even know that he was no eligible for that race. So, but just very, very happy where we are right now for sure.
Yeah, what do you think of him now? You said, okay, maybe compete in the New York bred races. Now he dominates the Withers. He's on the Kentucky Derby Trail. Has your perception changed of this horse?
No, yeah, I don't know about the Kentucky Derby, I don't think that's really our plan. We got to see how he run in the Wood Memorial. But, our plan with the owners, we've been talking about him. They're just looking to try to see if we can make it the Belmont State. The horse look like he wants to run all day. That don't mean anything. They still got to do and perform. But if he happen to run 1, 2, 3 in the Wood Memorial, then I let the owners make the decision. I just gonna go along for a ride.
Tell me a little bit more about the owners of Talk to Me, Jimmy.
It's two young guys that I met in Saratoga 2 years ago through Sal Fuda and Big Dam Racing. So they introduced, they sent them to the barn, and we've been going out for dinner and hang out and do this and everything just play to plan. I'm just happy that they're very patient, especially to be in John in this game and just let the horses with me to be patient like that.
Rudy, how challenging have the past couple of months been? You mentioned that they've been patient as you went through the provisional suspension by HISA. That happened back in December. Now that's been lifted. How difficult have these past couple of months been?
It's been very, very difficult, because you're dealing with I know HISA. I respect whatever they're doing. But, they accusing people from doing nothing. I don't know. They got to send more people to the barn areas and look the situation what we're dealing with. But they just come and put rules and rules and rules. Yeah, we got to respect the rules. I understand everybody's in the same boat, the rules, but we never mistreat a horse. We always got take care of the horses. It's not nothing to do with me. You got doctors checking the horse every day. You got grooms checking the horse every day. Power walkers checking the horse every day. Assistants. I got 4 assistants in the barn. Everybody's pinpoint something. I've been very blessed that I got the grooms since I start training, and I trust them a lot, and I expect them to trust me and tell me what they see in the horse. If they don't see nothing, you got to check this feet. You got to check this chin. They got a little spleen. This horse look like he's coming a quarter crack. And, us as a trainers, we got to depend and the help for sure. And I'm very blessed that I got the people with me for almost 14, 15 years. And they trying to blame people to mistreat the horses. Well, I think most of the horses over here, they treat at least what I see in the Bash Trace from the last 20, 30 years. I think people they get more mistreated than the horses. That's what I've been seeing. I got a room in Ecuador. I sleep in the rooms in Ecuador for like 3 or 4 years. Right when I got here to Ecuador, and you put 3 people in one room, and the horse is living like a king. So, but it's the situation that we are. We don't pay no rent. So, but we got to make it work, that's for sure. But I don't see anybody on the racetrack mistreating any horses.
Rudy, I know.
I don't see them.
I know there are situations that do take place on the backside, and I know that there are people who will take advantage of things, and they will mistreat horses. I know that happens from time to time, and hopefully those people are dealt with. But I can tell you, when these stories make headlines, and people that don't know racing come to me and they say, "Oh my, how does that sport survive?" And I said, "Listen, you got to understand." 99% of the people out there are playing the game the right way, and they love the horses and they care for the horses the right way. I said, you hear about the one or two people out there that don't do things the right way, but man, it drives me crazy, because when I walk around the backside and I talk to people, and I've been doing this now for 30 years, man, horses are so well cared for as a general rule, as the majority rule, and it drives me crazy when these things make headlines.
Yeah, that's what I told you. People from the guys they making the rules, they gotta come to the bar side and look how everybody treat the horses, and look everybody going around. And I don't see what they accusing people. And like I told you, we're here to respect the rules and try to do everything what is possible. I've been very lucky that at least none of my horses come back positive with nothing, and I gotta thank God for that, because every little thing they want to crucify you, But it's what it is, We just trying to do the right thing and try to obey the rules.
How much different, Rudy?
We making mistakes.
How much different are you doing things now? What were some of the things that you had to comply with in order to have the suspension lifted? What's different?
Not much. To tell you the truth, not much. We've been doing the thing. The only difference, I got Dr. Becker come to the barn almost every day, every 2 days, come and look at the horses and just check whatever he wants to check, and the barn is open for anybody, for HISA to come and look at him. And if they see any horse mistreated, I'm willing to take my responsibility and take whatever they're gonna give me. But I don't think we're here to mistreat the horses, for sure.
Rudy, it's been 13 years since you went to the Kentucky Derby with Vijak, and I remember that horse very, very well. When you hear the name Vijak, what things come to mind for you?
Oh, no, it's got a lot of memories. I think it's one of the only pictures I got in the house from hanging, because my wife don't like pictures in the house.
Come on.
That was Vijak was it's one of the favorite barns, very, very solid horse. Very challenged to be around, for sure, It's not like Talk to Me, Jimmy. Vijak was a horse that wants to put the brace. He wants to walk to the outside. So, just very, very different. But, he take us all the way to the Derby. Just to be in the Derby, it's very, very rewarding for a small barn. They is trying to break it. We most of the time we're dealing with horses, the claiming horses. The claiming horses, but, one of our favorites, but hopefully we can be there and then Kentucky again, for sure,
yeah, well, it's going to take a big effort in the wood, right?
Definitely, he's got to show us that he can be that kind of horse. He can be that kind of horse. Gabriel, ¿llegamos 2 vueltitas derecho? Yes, that's what we are right now. We're just hoping that he stays together, and he run a big number. So, and the Wood Memorial is definitely a great time for what we're doing, for sure.
Rudy, listen, I know you're working. I'll let you get back to it. Thank you for taking the time, and all the best with Talk to Me, Jimmy, and all the other horses you're going to be sending out.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Right.
Have a great day.
Rudy Rodriguez here on HRRN, and yeah, as you can tell, obviously not thrilled with the way the situation unfolded with his provisional suspension from HISA. We talked about that here on the program. I asked Dale and Tim on I Asked They Answer right after the news came out, and neither one of them were in favor of a provisional suspension. Either you're suspended or you're not. Either you did something wrong or you didn't, but they didn't like the idea of somebody not being able to continue before something had been proven. And I think that's where things really got sticky with that whole situation. And things are a little different for Rudy now. He said not much. He's always had, as every trainer does, has people in and out of the barn, veterinarians, horseshoers, people looking at the horse's teeth, dentists. I mean, there's all kinds of different people that come in and out of the barn all the time. And that's not just Rudy Rodriguez. That's every trainer. But there are some differences now. He is under a stronger microscope than he was before. As part of Heise saying, okay, fine, you can keep training, but you're going to abide by these additional procedures that we are going to make you go through. So there are some differences. Whether it's significantly more interaction with veterinarians, at least when you read the articles, it sounds like it is. But Rudy said, no, it's not a whole lot different. He was required to make a $10,000 donation to Thoroughbred Aftercare. Okay. He did that. But things are likely a bit different for Rudy now than they were prior to this situation unfolding. But take nothing away from his horse. Talk to me, Jimmy. And as he said, the owners, they really want to run in the Belmont Stakes. So the Derby isn't necessarily the goal. That was interesting to hear. But if he shows up with a big effort in the wood and he shows them that he belongs and they let the horse take them there, okay, they'll go to Louisville. They'll go to the Kentucky Derby. But he has to, like we were talking about, like I was talking about earlier, he has to prove he belongs. They're not going to go, just because they have enough points. They're going to let Talk to Me Jimmy take them there. And I like that approach. And if not, there's the Belmont Stakes. That's their big goal anyway. My thanks to Rudy for taking time here this morning. You're going to hear from dual Hall of Fame trainer Mark Casse coming up next. My goodness, does he have a strong hand right now.
1942, America.
That's next, right after your Legends of the Turf in this short commercial break.
It was 1942. America was in the throes of a worldwide conflict. Guadalcanal had not yet taken its final massive toll. Rationing, victory gardens, Rosie the Riveter, and victory bonds were the common bywords of the American public. Sports had Joe Louis, Joe DiMaggio, and Whirlaway as national idols. On Saturday, September 19, 1942, amidst a vast, massive war effort, the marvelous 3-year-old thoroughbred Alsab and Calumet's 4-year-old Whirlaway, who had won racing's fabled Triple Crown in 1941, went postward in a much-anticipated, much-ballyhooed match race at Narragansett Park near Providence, Rhode Island. The race itself was the concept of Judge James A. Dooley, the president of Narragansett, and it was a winner-take-all, wait-for-age affair for a then-huge purse of $25,000. The track's profit for the day was to go to the Army and Navy Relief Fund. There were more than 35,000 racing fans on hand at Gansett that day, and they were not to depart disappointed, for what was about to unfold was to become, to this very day, one of the all-time classic confrontations in the world of sport. Alsab, the 3-year-old, carried 119 pounds, while Lowell Longtail, as Whirlaway had come to be affectionately bemonikered by the racing public, had an impost of 126. Both were razor sharp and were escorted to the paddock by a special police guard. In stall 2, Ben Jones, the trainer of Whirlaway, assisted by his son Jimmy, saddled the Calumet standard bearer in the famed Devil's Red and Blue silks. Tightening the girth in stall 6 on Alsab was the redoubtable Sarge Swanky. There was an enormous crowd around the paddock trying to position themselves for even a fleeting glimpse of the two titans of the turf. A loud, prolonged applause rippled through the stands as Carol Bierman and the Irons aboard the great Alsab and the infamous Georgie the Iceman Wolf on Whirlaway brought their stalwarts postward. Whirlaway was the 3-10 favorite, Alsab 8-5. The distance of the race was 1 3/16 miles, and as the gates flew open, the Devil's Red and Blue silks of Whirlaway flashed to the front along the rail. Bierman aboard Alsab quickly picked up the pace and, as expected, quickly hustled his mount to the front, crossing over to the rail. It was Alsab by a length and a half going to the clubhouse turn, but Wolf had the big Calumet colt going along easily and would not allow Alsab to get off and set an uncontested pace. They hit the quarter in 25-2, and as they rounded the turn going to the long run down the backside, it was Al Sab by 2, with Bierman constantly glancing back at his rival, who was keeping closer to the pace than was his normal style. They hit the hop in a rather pedestrian 50-2. Going to the far turn, Bierman let Al Sab out a notch, and the lead was open to 3, with a 3/4 having run in a snail-like 114 flat. Rounding the bend, Wolf asked Whirlaway for a bit of run, and his mount closed the gap to 2 as they hit the quarter pole. At the top of the stretch, with 3/16 to the wire, the two rivals were just heads apart after having gone a mile in 1:38-3. Then came that never-to-be-forgotten stretch run that was to be forever indelibly etched in the minds of those in attendance on that gorgeous fall afternoon in New England. With Wolf going to the whip, Whirlaway pulled dead even as the two combatants were eyeball to eyeball. The huge clamor from the enormous crowd reached a crescendo as the two magnificent thoroughbreds matched powerful synchronized strides. Both riders were now using all of their consummate skills, driving furiously, both horses digging in, responding with every ounce of courage and strength they could muster. With colors glistening in the bright sunlight and the inseparable thoroughbreds in symmetrical full stride, it was literally like watching poetry in motion, an absolutely marvelous spectacle of sport. They thundered to the wire, locked together, a ton of horseflesh, inseparable, in an absolutely breathtaking finish. The final time of 1:56-2 flashed on the board, meaning they had run the final 3/16 in a rapid 17-4. Coming back to the winner's circle, shaped in the form of a large V for victory in the war effort, both were loudly cheered. Then came the agonizing and suspenseful wait as the crowd buzzed in disagreement over which had won after they both hit the wire together. When the photograph was developed and Al Sab's number flashed on the board, a winner by the very narrowest of noses, the shouting and applause were deafening both for the winner and the loser. It had been a truly magnificent effort on the part of both great horses. The very first to congratulate Al Sab's owner, Al Sabbath, and trainer Sarge Swenke for their win was the magnanimous trainer of Whirlaway, Ben Jones. Al Sab versus Whirlaway, September 19, 1942, at Narragansett Park. A most assuredly classic confrontation, and indeed a great moment in the world of thoroughbred racing.
It's time now to shine the spotlight on the Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week.
They straighten away, and these two fillies have come away. Bella Ballerina and Love Your Neighbor, who's gained a slight advantage with 1 furlong to go. It is Love Your Neighbor. Bella Ballerina tries to kick with her. Still a slight lead for Love Your Neighbor. Bella Ballerina just being held at the inside past the 16th. It's Love Your Neighbor. Bella Ballerina, she's all heart. She's battling back for Tyler Gaffleone. She's got it. Bella Ballerina and the Rachel Alexandra.
Bella Ballerina, the undefeated 3-year-old daughter of Darley Stallion Street Sense, kept that perfect record intact with another game victory, this time in the Grade 2 Rachel Alexandra at the Fairgrounds. She is now the points leader for this year's Kentucky Oaks, and that makes Bella Ballerina your Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week. Learn more about Street Sense and all the Darley Stallions by visiting DarleyAmerica.com.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Nitrogen trying to stick to her stablemate, and Quiet Side is sent hard fourth, trying to claim third on the outside. Top of the stretch now. Naritsuri, Nitrogen, the two Mark Casse entrants are going to decide it here. They're off the turn. Nitrogen confidently handled. Naritsuri to the inside fighting. Nitrogen, now the reins get shaken at her, and she's got to head in front. Naritsuri not done, but Nitrogen hitting the 16th pole, swaps to the wrong lead, but she's got too much class. It's the Eclipse Award winner. It's Nitrogen streaking clear in her 4-year-old debut to win the Bayacoa under Jose Ortiz. Naritsuri was second, third home Quiet Side, and then In Just My Heel.
The champ is back, and boy, did she come back in a big way to win the Bayakoa. 1-2 for trainer Mark Casse, and I know that's going to be music to his ears as he joins me here on the Equine Forum on HRRN. Mark, good morning. Congratulations, brother.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. It was fun to listen to once again.
I'm sure it was. How happy were you to see her come back the way she did?
Well, you always worry once you give one a layoff. Things didn't go perfect leading up to the race, so I was extremely nervous. And so to see her run the way she did, was amazing. She amazes me. I've said to many that I thought maybe that was her best performance ever. Really? And she had some really good ones last year. She did, but, I had said, going in, I thought she'd be about 85%. I even told Jose, to ride her that way. And you can see where Jose waited to the very last minute to ask her to run, and she took off. What amazed me was, directly after the race when we were in the winner's circle, she hardly was blowing. It was like it was nothing to her. What impresses you most about Nitrogen? I guess her consistency, she has a wonderful mind. She doesn't handle rest really well. She likes doing things, but once she gets her game face on and she's, in the paddock or on the track, she just does whatever you need her to do, and does it with pure class. Take me back to January and the Eclipse Awards. I casted my vote in her favor for her championship title, and I know obviously enough voters did where she walked away with the Eclipse Award. How cool is it to hear her name called, my friend? Yeah. It's always cool when you can train a champion. It was special for so many reasons. Mostly because we had lost Lois Green, John and John's mother and Len's wife a couple years ago, and she loved horse racing, and she was very instrumental in the mating and doing that, and to win the Eclipse Award with a homebred for DJ was extra special. What's next for Nitrogen? More than likely the Missouri on, I believe it's the 7th. Well, the way she ran the other day, you have to think she's going to be a handful in that race as well. And if you're the champ, everybody's gunning for you now. Now you've got that target on your back with her. She's had a target for a little while, but it's fine. She doesn't have any problem with it. The good thing about Nitrogen is that she dictates what happens. She's got enough speed that she can, make the lead if she needs to, or you can position her anywhere. And if they try to, pin her in, she's pretty strong. She can get out of things. Yeah, she's a tough filly, and looking forward to her next start, possibly in the Azeri, and then going forward from there. Mark Casse with me here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Mark, how about the 3-year-olds? Boy, have you been on a roll there. Strategic Risk ends up winning for you earlier this season, then comes back in the Southwest, doesn't run his race, but Silent Tactic does and takes home the top prize in there. Tell me about Silent Tactic and that effort in the Southwest. Yeah, he's funny. He's a horse that early on didn't show a whole lot. I sent him to Woodbine. He broke his maiden, then came back and ran in a stake. But he's really excelled. That was on synthetic. He's really excelled on the dirt. He just breezed about 30 minutes ago, and breezed very well at Oaklawn. He loves that racetrack there. So him and Strategic Risk worked a couple hours ago and went well. So we're gonna run them both back in the Rebel. You know, we had a question from a listener last week during the segment that I do at the end of the show with Dale Romans and Tim Wilkin, and they were wondering why a trainer like yourself, who runs horses all over the country, all over the world, would continue to run top 3-year-olds in the same races against each other. So why do you do that, Mark?
Well, because that's the best spot for them. My friend Aaron Yagoda said, Mark trains for a career, not a race. So we're trying obviously to get to the Kentucky Derby. And I just think that's a good spot. Mr. Oxley had no problem running against each other. Who would have, and there you go. You would have thought going in to the race that Strategic Risk would be the toughest horse in there. And instead, his entry mate, Silent Tactic, showed up. I'm not smart enough to figure out which one is going to be the best on that day.
Well, you could just kind of do what you did in the Bayakoa and run 1-2 in their next start. That would be okay.
Right, and then you go from there. Each race is a learning experience. You're learning things. It's the way I do it. Maybe not everybody agrees, but it's worked pretty good for me.
What did you learn about Silent Tactic in that win in the Southwest?
Well, I thought his win was good because, the pace wasn't crazy. And he was able to rally, and he rallied strong. I mean, he came home the last 3/8 of a mile. I think he took off with Christian, and he ran into the back of horses a little bit at the quarter pole. If that hadn't happened, I think he wins by even farther. So it was pretty impressive. And it's nice, some horses need there to be a meltdown on the front end to be effective. I don't think he does.
Strategic Risk ends up finishing 10th in the Southwest. What was your takeaway on that performance? What went wrong?
I don't know, Mike. Obviously, we missed a lot of training. We missed, I think, 10 or 12 days of training because of weather. Every horse is affected differently. Maybe that was part of it. I don't have a really good excuse for you. So all I know is he's come back and he's trained well since then, and we're going to give him another try.
I'm going to spend some time later in the program talking about Ewing and his return. He came back, ends up finishing 6th in the Ozark Stakes as the heavy favorite. What went wrong there, Mark? What was your takeaway?
I don't know. He just didn't show up. He trained, well enough that I thought it was a good spot. It was a good spot to come back in. I don't have a real good excuse. He came out of the race fine. He looks fine. I am going to bring him back to Ocala and regroup and just kind of wait. I think maybe I told him when I wanted him to run. I'm going to let him tell me when he wants to run. I think that I don't know that he grew up a lot from 2 to 3. And he's a later fold. So I'm going to just give him a little time, probably aiming for Saratoga or something like that.
I can imagine it's got to be a little frustrating when you don't know what the reason was when a top horse doesn't show up, right? You just kind of got to throw your hands up in the air and say they're not machines.
Well, exactly. They're not machines, and he trained well enough. I felt like we had went into the race, good, and I was expecting. I didn't necessarily expect him to give us a tip-top performance because, again, we're building. We're trying to build up. But he gave us no performance. His race was so bad, so off that it just doesn't seem real. If he'd ran and got beat a length or two, you'd say, oh, that's disappointing. I would consider his performance more than disappointing. I would call it shocking.
Well, how shocking was the performance by Sandman, who came back to the races, finished 5th in his allowance race, the same day that Nitrogen won the Bayakoa?
Yeah, I had no problem with Sandman. Sandman was a victim of circumstances. He also, somewhere in that race, I'm not sure where, cut himself up pretty good on the inside of his right front leg. You know, I've said it on many occasions. He needs some pace to run at, and he didn't get any. He got, he was boggled in the entire time. He got beat 2 lengths. He hadn't ran in a long time. That performance, I was okay with. I mean, obviously we want to win, but, was it the best race he ever ran? No. And I think he can build on that. The plan is right now we're going to run him back in the Razorback. So he came out of the race and he's trained really well. Sometimes those horses are a little rusty and they need a race to get back.
Yeah, ultra talented as Sandman. Can't wait to see him and see where he fits with this division. That older horse division this year, Mark, looks like it's going to be stacked.
Yeah, it is. I don't even know who's going to go, in the Razorback. But, again, with him, he needs some pace to run at. It takes him a little while to get in gear. He had no shot the other day, so I was disappointed in the results, but I wasn't really disappointed in him.
The Red Heart, Mark Casse, here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. He's been winning stakes races at a alarming rate if your other trainers going up against him, because he wins the Dixie Bell last weekend at Oaklawn Park with French Friction. Mark, you also took the Lightning City Stakes at Tampa Bay Downs with Creed's Gold, and then My Boy Prince, I know how fond you are of him, ends up winning the Turf Dash Stakes at Tampa Bay too. So 3 stakes wins last weekend alone.
Yeah, it was a good day. It was my birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy belated.
Yeah, that was a good birthday present.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about My Boy Prince, because he's a horse, I think, when we talk about the older horse division, he's a horse that can have an impact in some of these races.
I agree, Mike. I mean, we tried him in a lot of different spots and a lot of different things. I think he's probably his best is maybe 3/4 of a mile to a mile on the turf. He also can run on synthetic, but there's just not a lot of opportunities there. So I think you'll see us focus more in that area. Right now, my thought is to probably take him to Keeneland. 5.5 at Keeneland is a little short for him, but 5.5 at Keeneland is like running 3/4 of a mile in a lot of places on the turf. So that's where he'll go. We'll probably just try to keep him sprinting.
And French Friction, I'm going to assume she has her eyes on the first Friday in May now?
Yes, she does. And her next start, if everything stays the same, her next start's going to be in the Ashley.
She ran so well. She's a very talented filly.
She is. She's a filly that we considered the A team early on last year, and she got hurt in the stall and kicked something, and it took us months to get it better. And she came back, and when we sent her out to Caden Arthur, our assistant out at Oaklawn, I told him, I said, I think I'm sending you something special. And so far, she's done everything asked of her.
Mark, I'll let you go, but anybody else we haven't touched on that we should be keeping an eye on going forward from the Casse barn?
I don't know. We give a lot of our horses, Mike, we give a lot of our horses the winter off, and we're just now starting to crank back up. I don't know. I can tell you at this point, it's still early. It's middle of towards the end of February. We have an unbelievable bunch of young 2-year-olds. So I'm excited about where they're going to go this year.
What's next for LaCara?
LaCara's going to run in the Missouri with Nitrogen.
Okay.
Her race was not great. We shipped down to Sam Houston and got a very tough track, and she struggled. She's come back and trained really well. So we're happy with that. She'll go there. Obviously, we know, and there you go. The farmers are fine with running her against Nitrogen, knowing that, she's going to give her a good shot, but maybe can't beat Nitrogen. But it leads us to Nitrogen. If everything goes the same, Nitrogen will stay at Oakland and run in the Apple Blossom, and Licaro will probably go to Keeneland and run in the Double Dare. So, yes, they're going to run together, but they're going to take separate paths after that.
Mark, congratulations on the fast start to 2026. Let's keep it rolling, and I'm sure you and I will catch up again down the road.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
All right, buddy. Mark Casse here on HRRN. As you can tell, so many top horses, and we knew that. But I wanted to walk through some of the bigger names with him and get you updated as to where they're pointing next and what went wrong with horses like Sandman and Strategic Risk who didn't show up. Ewing inexplicably not showing up, and Mark even saying he has no idea what happened. He wasn't there. He just didn't bring his A game, didn't bring any game with him, and he ends up finishing 6th in that race as the heavy favorite. And then Sandman, he was okay with his fifth place finish in his return because of the situation with the trouble and then getting cut up, as he said, a little bit during the race. It was a rough race for Sandman, and he'll come back and he'll live to fight another day. So, interesting comments, a great review of some of the top horses in Mark's barn with him to get you kicked off here on this Saturday morning. You heard from Rudy Rodriguez earlier. Now we turn our attention to hour number 2 and our Calling All 3-Year-Old segment presented by Spendthrift. That's coming up next. Stay with me. It's the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Woodford Feed, where tradition merges with technology. Family owned since 1940 and providing exceptional customer service, Woodford Feed specializes in the highest quality feed, using only the finest ingredients to ensure optimal nutrition for your horses. In addition, Woodford Feed can help with all your farm needs, including field seed, fertilizer, and weed control. So whether your horse is sprinting around the racetrack or has a foal by her side, count on Woodford Feed to provide the quality nutrition necessary to perform at the highest level. Woodford Feed, Versailles, Kentucky.
Dear Vet Ticks, it was nice to spend the night with my daughter and other veterans. It's so humbling to attend an event when you feel appreciated.
I had a wonderful time with my family. Thank you for the memories, Vet Ticks.
Dear Vet Ticks, thank you for a great experience and for your support of the military and veterans.
Thank you so much, Vet Ticks. Our family has gone through a lot the last few years, and this gave us a nice break.
Every empty seat at a concert, game, or special event is a missed opportunity to say thank you to a veteran or a service member. By giving your extra tickets to Vet Ticks, you'll help America's heroes reduce stress, strengthen family bonds, and create a truly happy memory that will last a lifetime. So when you really want to say thank you for your service, give the experience, give the memory. Vet Ticks. Give something to those who gave. For more information on how you can make a difference, go to vettix.org.
Ms. Fernandez, what are those tiny things?
Those are what we call amoebas. You can only see them through a microscope.
Wow.
Today's students are tomorrow's great thinkers and innovators. But right now, there's a funding crisis in public schools. Millions of kids go to schools that don't have funding for books, computers, and so much more just because of where they live. You can help change that. Donors Choose is a nonprofit that lets you support students and teachers in your community and beyond. You choose which supplies to support. You could provide first graders with pencils and paper, or other students with their first chapter books, help a music class get a guitar.
You could even supply a classroom like mine with a science project. But what you're really giving is the moment that sparks a brighter tomorrow.
To learn more, please visit DonorsChoose.org. That's DonorsChoose.org. Choose students. Shape the future.
Thursday evenings, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, is the Brisnet.com call-in show. It's your chance to call in and let the Horse Racing Radio Nation know what's on your mind. Call us at 888-966-HRRN. That's 888-966-4776. And discuss the topics you choose in the world of thoroughbred racing. The Brisnet.com call-in show. Sirius 162, XM 207, and streaming live at horseracingradio.net.
They're all in line. they're off.
Spendthrift Farm presents Calling All 3-Year-Olds with Bobby Neuman.
The first of the 50 pointers on the road to the Kentucky Derby took place last Saturday at Fairgrounds as 8 runners contested the Grade 2 Risen Star Stakes. Chad Brown's undefeated Paladin was sent off the heavy 3-5 favorite and proved best, scoring by a half length. But it was the way he won that was so impressive. Not only was he caught wide trying to close on a track that favored inside speed all day, but he had to track down a lonely leader in Chip Honcho, who was setting a very mild pace. The top 2 finished well clear of Golden Tempo, who checked in third. Earlier in the day, the Grade 3 Saudi Derby was on the Saudi Cup undercard. Locally based Al Haram closed from far back in the about 1 mile affair to get up for the win, beating Steve Asmussen's Obliteration and race favorite Satono Voyage. The winner is now 4 for 4, gets 30 Derby points, and is hoping to make it to Kentucky. Then on Sunday, the Sunland Derby took center stage. Express Kid was coming off a big win in Remington's Springboard Mile and was sent off the even money favorite. He took the lead at once, but was pestered the entire trip by SoCal shipper Pavlovian. They came down to the wire together, with the latter just barely getting up for the win and the 20 Kentucky Derby points. There are 3 Kentucky Derby preps this week: the Dubai Road to the Kentucky Derby Stakes at Maidan Friday, the John Battaglia Memorial at Turfway Saturday, and the Hyacinth in Japan Sunday. The Battaglia, by the way, features a full field of 12 and looks wide open on paper. Next week, the waters get a little deeper with the Fountain of Youth at Gulfstream, the Gotham at Aqueduct, and the Rebel at Oaklawn Park. I'll be back with this week's top 5 list right after this word from Spendthrift.
A warrior from the start.
Dornock is coming back. Dornock in the Remsen.
What separates the best isn't just talent, it's meeting the moment. Look your rival in the eye and say, not today.
It will be Dornock to win the Belmont Stakes.
And Dornock stubborn. Dornock wins the Haskell.
A world-class athlete made for the fight. That's Dornock.
The only horse to beat Mindframe twice and who also beat Sierra Leone twice. Dornock, standing at Spendthrift.
This week's top 5 list of Derby contenders looks like this. Number 5, Renegade, looked awesome breaking his maiden in the Sam Davis, and it looks like extra distance is his friend. Number 4 is Nearly, improving Pletcher trainee looked great in the Holy Bull. He's likely to wait till the Florida Derby at Gulfstream on March 28th for his next start. Number 3, Commandment, rousing winner of the Mucho Macho Man Has Talent. He's aiming for the Fountain of Youth at Gulfstream on February 28th. Number 2, Further Ado, followed up a monstrous maiden win with a nice score in the Kentucky Jockey Club. He's on schedule for the Tampa Bay Derby on March 7th. And number 1 is Paladin, keeps improving and now has 60 Derby points, all but guaranteeing his spot in the Kentucky Derby. He has one more race scheduled before that, though, the Bluegrass at Keeneland on April 4th. That's your Calling All 3-Year-Old segment presented by Spendthrift, the Breeders' Farm.
Man, I love that segment. Plenty more conversation regarding the 3-year-old picture, both on the Oaks and the Derby side of things, coming up in hour number 2. Kevin Kerstein joins me. Davant Latham, the owner of Street Beast in today's John Battaglia Memorial, will be here for our Kentucky bred conversation. And trainer Doug O'Neill looking back on Pavlovian's big win in the Sunland Park Derby last weekend. We'll do that coming up in hour number 2. But I do want to remind you, if you are in Kentucky, Central Kentucky in particular, but if you're in Kentucky for any reason and your travels take you through Lexington, do not miss your opportunity to enjoy an incredible meal at Tony's of Lexington. They're on Main Street, right behind Rupp Arena. I will be going there shortly. I can promise you that. I'm there quite often. It is fantastic. The best steak you're going to find anywhere. The atmosphere, incredible. The service, spectacular. Just a wonderful experience. Enjoy it. As Tony Ricci, the owner, says, there's always room for one more at our table. And that's true, but they fill up quickly. So make sure you call them now to make your reservations if you're going to be here. If you're coming in for the race meet in April, get your reservations now. Don't delay. Tony's of Lexington, I promise you, you'll thank me for it afterwards. I'm back with hour number 2 right after this 10-second pause for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing
comes to talk.
This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of this week's edition of the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron in the backstretch with you for the next 2 hours, right up until 11 a.m. Eastern. And if you're a fan of horse racing, you'll want to keep it right here. Sirius 162 XM 207. Streaming at horseracingradio.net on our terrestrial partners as well. And then, of course, if you miss any portion of the show, my conversations with Rudy Rodriguez and Mark Casse in the first hour of the program and anything yet to come, head back and check out the podcast after we finish up here this morning, horseracingradio.net and any podcast platform. Wherever you get your podcast, type in Horse Racing Radio Network and you'll get a chance to listen to this show and all of our shows whenever you have some time. Kevin Kerstein going to kick off hour number 2 for us momentarily, right after I remind you that you can continue to vote or cast your thoughts, your comments on this week's poll question. You can do that at HRRN on X, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, or you're not a social media person, just email the show, Mike at horseracingradio.net. From which racetrack is the Kentucky Derby winner going to come? Do you like the horses in the fairgrounds? Do you like the horses at Oaklawn? Maybe it's Gulfstream. Maybe it's Aqueduct. Maybe it's Santa Anita. Let me know your thoughts. Michael tweets to the show and he says, Gulfstream. I think Gulfstream is going to be a popular choice here because there are some really good horses at Gulfstream. There's good horses everywhere, but Gulfstream seems to be the hotbed. Tom in St. Louis says, it's an easy question this week. The Derby winner will come from Oaklawn Park and be one of the Mark Casse horses. Well, you just heard from Mark, and I'm sure he'd be pleased with Tom's comments there. You can keep them coming, as I mentioned, on our social media and email the show. Kevin Kerstein joins me now. He'll have a more in-depth look at the Derby picture for you and the Oaks picture. Kevin, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. With 70 days out, I think I would vote right now for the horses that are based in South Florida to be the favorites for the Derby.
Yeah. You think about what Gulfstream has sent to the Kentucky Derby, right? The South Florida horses and their impact on the Kentucky Derby over the past, 2 decades. It's been pretty impressive.
It really has been, and we've seen right now on the road to the Kentucky Derby with Nearly and Paladin, who are sharing sort of co-favoritism at this stage for the first Saturday in May, and both of those horses being based in South Florida and very impressive in their own rights. And I think between the major impact that Payson Park is now holding on the 3-year-old scene with Chad Brown and Brad Cox and Bill Mott, you name them, all being based there. And then, of course, Todd Pletcher being based at Palm Beach Downs with, his major army of horses that he has down there. It's just sort of the hotbed for the 3-year-olds. And it's certainly those 2 horses have risen to the top of the class, and Paladin and Nearly for the first Saturday in May.
Todd Pletcher hoping to start a new streak this year in 2026.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, it's so funny with, Todd, and it's not funny, but it's sort of just ironic of Ted Naffy was just the full rage of the Kentucky Derby picture. And it's always disappointing when you have a champion 2-year-old that is unfortunately not going to make the first Saturday in May, but then Nearly comes and steps into place. And then, by the way, you have Renegade, who sort of backs up the performance of Paladin, going on and winning the Sam F. Davis and now going on to the Arkansas Derby. And so just sort of Todd loaded down in South Florida as per usual. And, when one unfortunately does not make the first Saturday in May and has a hiccup, he has a few others that may take their place.
This picture is going to change significantly over the coming weeks as we make our way down that road to the Kentucky Derby. But currently, Paladin at the top of the list with 60 points. Chip Honcho, who ran that big race last weekend, second. Golden Tempo, third. Silent Tactic, and then Renegade rounding out the top 5. Which are the horses, Kevin, that you're going to have your eye on most as we move down this road?
It's hard to shy away from those top two horses that I just mentioned on the road to the Kentucky Derby. But over the course of the next 10 weeks, as we've come to familiarize with ourselves on the road to the Kentucky Derby, the twists and turns, the peaks and the valleys, there's so much more action to be had on the championship series on the road to the Kentucky Derby. The prep season closes tonight with the John Battaglia Memorial. Those top 5 horses that you sort of mentioned that are on the leaderboard right now, I feel like there's a lot of people that on this road to the Kentucky Derby, it's all about recency. And so recently we saw in the Fasig-Tipton Risen Star of Paladin getting the job done over a very game Chip Honcho. And then some people might forget about Golden Tempo, who finished 3rd in this race, who I feel like is the type of horse where Cherie DeVaux is going to have him peaking at the right time. She said she's going to add blinkers for the Louisiana Derby in his next start. And, even though that he ran 3rd in this race and, he has qualifying points that will get him in the mix to, get in the gate for the first Saturday in May, I feel like he's the type of horse that can improve off of that 3rd place finish if he's able to, find a better running style and, doesn't have to do too much work away from the gate that he had to do in both the Lecomte, which he was able to win, and in the Fasig-Tipton Risen Star. So if he's able to, improve a little bit, he's the type of horse where I think is a very much an underdog player right now for the Kentucky Derby picture.
Of the horses in the 6 through 10 position, Intrepido, who for Jeff Mullins, he was on this program a couple of weeks ago talking about him. He returned with a nice effort. Universe, Plutarch, Pavlovian. Going to hear from Doug O'Neill coming up talking about him in a little bit. And Express Kid, number 10. Of those 5, which one are you going to be most excited about?
I feel like Intrepido is very interesting. I think the San Felipe next weekend, or in 2 weeks, will be a big key race on this road to the Kentucky Derby, because what does the Southern California picture look like, as we saw Plutarch getting the job done, and over Intrepido, who I think ran a very credible race off of a layoff and off of maybe some questioning the performance that he had to end his 2-year-old season in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So I feel like when we see the San Felipe and how that pans out, it's really going to make this picture a lot more clear, not only the lead up for the Santa Anita Derby and, sort of who sorts themselves out in the Southern California picture, but overall the Kentucky Derby of who the favorite is going to be, either from the Bob Baffert stable, whether it's Plutarch, whether it's Boyd, whether it's Brandt, whether it's, you name them, or it's going to be, someone else like an Intrepido, who I think has every right to improve off of his last start.
Are you buying or selling Further Ado?
At this stage, I feel like he's a hold. It's a political answer, but I feel like, as impressive as he was, he and Napoleon Solo right now are the 2 unknowns that I feel like we have right now on the road to the Kentucky Derby, as we saw have impressive performances as 2-year-olds. But so often we see horses that, peak as 2-year-olds, and when some of the later developing horses catch up now in the wintertime of the 3-year-old season, it's, the 2-year-old season was the peak for those horses. Can they improve off of their performances as their 2-year-olds? You have horses that absolutely can do so. And Further Ado, I just haven't seen enough of him yet to be a major buy. But I think that, in Brad Cox, I trust in getting him ready to, have 2 starts before the Kentucky Derby, and very well planned out campaign for him. So I think he has every right to improve off of his 2-year-old campaign, but it's sort of a wait and see for both he and Napoleon Solo.
How about on the ladies' side of things, the Kentucky Oaks picture? Is it Bella Ballerina and everybody else?
I mean, at this stage, it really seems that way. I thought she was ultra impressive last weekend in the Rachel Alexandra. And, some people may say just sort of grinding away at a victory. She switched leads late. And talking to Brendan Walsh, and he was very upfront in saying she probably needed a run coming in off of, her first start in the 3-year-old season. And so she has every right to, now improve off of that. We'll see if she goes to the Ashland to chase, grade 1 glory. And I think it's really her and everybody else at this stage. But, like the road to the Kentucky Derby, there's so much that can change over these next 10 weeks until we get to Friday, May the 1st for the Longines Kentucky Oaks. So, but right now she just really has my eye, and I'm just, so caught up in the way that she was able to win that race, not sort of flashy or anything like that, but one of those where I really think she can move forward in her next start and then leading into the Kentucky Oaks.
visiting with Kevin Kerstein, talking about the Kentucky Oaks, the Kentucky Derby picture. Again, that picture going to change significantly and become, it could become more clear. It could become more muddled as we make our way down the road to the first Saturday in May, and that's the beauty of the road to the Kentucky Derby. You never know what's going to happen. You don't know where horses are going to come from that all of a sudden become major players and contenders on the road to Louisville. But it's exciting to watch and to see it unfold. Do we get a major player out of the John Battaglia Memorial tonight?
Major player, I don't know. I know it's a great betting race, and I think it's going to set horses up for a lot of options moving forward, being the local prep for the Jeff Ruby Stakes. And really, with the American turf on the Kentucky Derby undercard now being a Grade 1, I feel like you're starting to see more and more turf horses that are either ending up in the John Battaglia Memorial or the Jeff Ruby Stakes, and then, whether the Derby fever catches up with them or not to, go on for the first Saturday in May and try the dirt or not is really to be seen. But I feel like tonight's race, it's a very deep and competitive field, and has horses that are stakes winners on turf, that are trying the all-weather surface for the first time. It has proven horses on the all-weather surface at Turfway Park. It's a really fun race to close out the road to the Kentucky Derby prep season and then go on to the March 21st Jeff Ruby Stakes.
Going to hear from Davant Latham. He's the owner of Street Beast, who goes in that race later tonight. He comes up in the next segment, Kevin. Street Beast looked really good winning the Leonidas Stakes last time out. We'll get a rematch in this spot here this afternoon with the runner-up in that effort. What do you make of Street Beast and his chances to emerge as a horse that can be a player either in the American turf or a race like the Kentucky Derby?
He's a very quality horse, and he impressed me, obviously, at Kentucky Downs, winning 2 starts in 11 days, breaking his maiden, and then going on and winning the Juvenile Stakes down there. And in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, he had a pretty troubled trip that day, and so I thought he ran a credible 4th and clearly moved forward in his first start off of the layoff last time out at Turfway Park. But the thing that I think worries me about Street Beast is the rail draw for him. He's sort of forced to go now from that inside post. He, could sit a pocket trip if he had to, but it sort of feels like he needs to go. And there's some speed in this race to his outside. And so I don't think the pace will be soft by any means in here. So it just maybe just sort of compromises him being drawn towards the inside. And so that's why, if you're gambling on him tonight, he is absolutely a quality horse that could win this race. But I think he's compromised by that post to be able to back at a short price.
Which other horses in there will you have your eye on as being major players?
It's really, as I mentioned, stakes winners on turf. You have both Two Out Hero, who breaks from the far outside, who Grade 1 placed from Woodbine, who's shipping in for Kevin Attard, and Gold Square. You have Atfield, who's a stakes winner up in New York. Very quality horses there. Full Effort, who finished second to Street Beast in his last start. I think there's a lot of people that are going to be backing him. I'm sort of on a little bit of a wild card in here of a horse named Great White, who John Ennis trains, one of 2 in here for John Ennis. And Great White is just a massive son of Volatile, and he's sort of going to need every bit of this mile and the 16th, and really surprised, I think, the Ennis camp winning first out, going 6 furlongs. And if there's some pace to run at in here, he ran an okay 5th last time out, but he's one of those that I think is just going to, need that pace set up and need every bit of extra ground, and the price might be right on him. Great White in here, and, just take a look at him in the paddock. He's going to be an imposing horse compared to some of the others in here, just standing much bigger than the rest of this field.
9:55 Eastern, race 9 on the program tonight is the John Battaglia Memorial, mile and the 16th on the all-weather surface at Turfway Park, and should be a really fun betting race, especially if you're playing against a horse like Street Beast and you think he's beatable. I think you can get some value in other places, and I think, Kevin, you agree. Going forward, lay it out for me. What can racing fans look forward to from the team at Churchill Downs as we get closer to the first Saturday in May? I know there are other Kentucky Derby future wagers. Spell it all out for me.
Yeah, it's all Derby all the time right now here at Churchill Downs as we're getting ready for the first Saturday in May. Tickets are still on sale for the Kentucky Derby. You can go to KentuckyDerby.com. Kentucky Derby week, we just got an extra day now of racing. Sunday fun day, so lots of action to be had over Kentucky Derby week. That'll feature some great racing and of course obviously headlined by the Kentucky Derby on the first Saturday in May. 2 more future wagers remain. We'll run it over the course of the Virginia Derby weekend in mid-March, and then we'll run the final weekend on April the 4th, which will conclude Pool 6 of the Kentucky Derby future wager. Pool 5 is going to coincide with the lone Kentucky Oaks future wager. So if you like Bella Ballerina like I do, you can bet the Oaks Derby future double on over the course of pool number 5. All that information is on KentuckyDerby.com/future wager. And, this road to the Kentucky Derby, as the prep season concludes tonight, the championship series continues next week with a massive trio of races from across the country. It's really going to be a fun lead up for the first Saturday in May over the course of the next 10 weeks.
Another Hall of Fame appearance here on the program. Kevin, appreciate the visit. Enjoy that race later tonight. Enjoy the next few weeks. I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Mike. Good luck.
You got it. Kevin Kerstein here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Really on top of things when it comes to the Oaks and the Derby picture. I can throw anything at him, and he just gives you great stuff. Really appreciate the time here this morning. He mentioned the Fasig-Tipton Risen Star Stakes from last weekend. And it reminded me that if you haven't already done so, head back to our website and take a listen to the past couple of weeks with Trainer Talk presented by Fasig-Tipton. They're all really good. But the last couple of weeks, in particular, last night. Trainer Talk, of course, airs every single Friday for you here on the network, and then we podcast it afterwards. Jinx Fires. Check that. Jinx Fires is next week's show. But we remembered King Leatherberry last night, and my goodness, that was such an incredible visit that we had with King. We replayed our show from several years ago when he was first inducted into the Hall of Fame, and it was it was so much fun to do it live, and then to listen to it again yesterday with the replay. Just do yourself a favor and go back and listen to King Leatherberry. You want to feel good about racing and about the sport, do that. And if you really want to feel good next weekend, Friday afternoon, tune in to Fasig-Tipton, Trainer Talk presented by Fasig-Tipton, and make sure you listen to Jinx Fires. That hour conversation, man, I didn't even want to ask any questions. I just wanted to sit back and listen to Jinx talk. That's how good he was. That comes up next Friday. You can go to our website, get all the information. But really, I just wanted to make sure I threw that out there because those are a couple of really fantastic programs that I think you're really going to enjoy. Davant Latham set to join me next. He'll talk more about tonight's John Battaglia Memorial and a horse named Street Beast. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The National HBPA is continuously working to protect the health and welfare of horses by advocating and funding research to help reduce equine injuries, lobbying for a national testing lab to oversee and establish absolute uniform laboratory protocols, advocating for every track to undergo an annual independent surface assessment, passionately supporting off-the-track thoroughbred retirement facilities and adoption groups, and so much more. See additional HBPA initiatives at nationalhbpa.com.
Fans, prepare for a fantastic weekend here at Santa Anita Park. We have 10 big races today and some terrific wagering opportunities. There are 2 Pick 4s, 2 Pick 5s, a $3 late Pick 3, the Sunset Pick 6, and the $5 late Daily Double, all with a low 15% takeout. Plus the ever-popular Coast to Coast Pick 5 that always has terrific payouts and has that low 15% takeout as well. Plus, don't forget the $2 traditional Pick 6. My best bet today comes in race number 10. That's number 6, Chair's Coin. Both of her races on the turf were excellent, and she is trained by Michael McCarthy, who really knows how to win. I think you can bet her with confidence today. You can also be confident that we're going to have some great events here at Santa Anita, like this weekend's Lunar New Year celebration, a weekend filled with cultural shows, delicious food, and the Year of the Horse Wealth Tree, where First Reward members can win cash vouchers and one lucky fan might take home $5,000. You can get all the details at santaanita.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Jutland is all in. Reb 5 needs to maintain that momentum. Full Effort could be a player. He's trying to swing into the scene, tipping one from the outside. They all got to come and get Street Beast. Street Beast goes into beast mode for the final furlong. Full Effort makes a move for second. Jutland and Valiant. It's Street Beast. Full Effort is closing. Street Beast and Full Effort. Street Beast wins the Leonidas Stakes wire to wire. From Full Effort, Jutland, and Valiant.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron in the backstretch, with you up until 11 a.m. Eastern, as always, on this Saturday morning. That was Tony Kalo with the call of the Leonidas Stakes, won by Street Beast. He's back later tonight in the John Battaglia Memorial. 5-2 on the morning line. He breaks from the inside post position. Post time for the Battaglia, 9:55 Eastern time, and hoping that he can repeat that effort and walk away with another victory under the lights in Northern Kentucky later tonight. His owner, Davant Latham, set to join me momentarily. We'll talk to Davant about Street Beast and his future if all goes well later tonight and goes according to plan. I want to pass along your Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question for this morning. What horse was the first thoroughbred to be imported into the United States? Think about that one for a minute. Get your mojo working and see if you can come up with the answer. I will reveal the answer in the final segment of today's show right around 10:55 Eastern time. Well, Street Beast looked good last time. Will he do it again tonight? Davant Latham is hoping he will. Davant, how are you, my friend? Good to hear your voice.
Great to be talking to you, Mike. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, I got to tell you, this is a very talented horse. What did you make of that win in the Leonidas?
You know, this horse has acted like he's been here before all along. He has always broken well. Of course, I say that, I probably jinxed him, but he breaks well. He rates kindly. And the Leonidas, he broke well. He was in the 10-hole. Nobody wanted to lead, and Luan just took him along and backed it up. And I think one of the things that is important to remember from that night is that he is the only horse that won a race at Turfway that night, wire to wire. Everybody else was a closer.
Yeah, that goes in his favor for sure. He's a horse that you purchased at the OBS sale and as a 2-year-old, and you paid $85,000 for him from the Eddie Woods consignment. Now he's banked more than $885,000. What a fantastic purchase!
Oh, it's an easy game.
You're a genius, Davant.
Yeah, right. Oh, you've known me too long to think that. No, it's been a thrill, and one of our things was we went down there. We bought 3 horses. We have a partnership, and there was no way we were gonna buy anything that wasn't a Kentucky bred, and so it was very fortuitous that we were able to break our maiden at Kentucky Downs, and we beat that day. And what I'd like to see happen today, he broke on top. Intricate Spirit, the horse that eventually won the Futurity for Miguel Clement, came to him and really wanted the lead. Luan checked him, let Intricate Spirit go past him, swung Street Beast outside and parked him on Intricate Spirit's hip. And then when they entered the stretch, he fired and went past him. He came out of that race so great, just wanting more, that we wheeled him right back 9 days later in the $1 Million Juvenile, and he won that very convincingly.
When you write a check for $85,000 for any horse, you're hoping for a solid return on your investment. But could you ever imagine that he would be this caliber?
No.
No.
We always hope they are, but because when we buy horses, we are always trying to pick the best athlete we can. We're trying to pick the pedigree that we can afford, and but there's so much that can go wrong. There's so much that you can't see. For example, how much do they want to try? And this horse has always wanted to try. So we've been blessed and fortunate, and everybody's over the moon. All the investors got their money back in September. So we're playing with house money, and he's just been a wonderful horse to have.
Ben Colebrook, his trainer, was texting with me earlier this week, and he said that this horse has really been an overachiever. And he said Davant did a great job picking him out. He really makes it easy for me.
Well, Ben is kind, and he's a great trainer and a good person. And one of the things we wanted to do was have the horses with someone based in Lexington, so it would be easy for me to check on them. And that was an easy selection to go with Ben. His help is fantastic. Most of them have been with him for more than 10 years. Danny, who's his regular groom, who is Street Beast regular groom, is just fantastic. Go travels, just super people. And that goes for Luan Machado as well. He's just a kind person as well as a very talented jockey.
Davant Latham, Midway Racing, joining me for this week's Kentucky Bred Conversation. This interview presented by the Kentucky Thoroughbred Development and Breeders Incentive Funds, which, by the way, issued a record $20 million in KTBIF awards this year to breeders of Kentucky bred horses. It's an incredible program, and Street Beast is indeed Kentucky bred. Davant, the key to victory tonight is what?
What I'd like to see us break well. I'd like to see maybe the 10 Aces Honor come hard from the outside post, and we let him go past us and then swing out and park on his hip. That's what I'd like to see.
It's an easy game.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. But thus far, this horse, again, he's done things so well naturally. He breaks so well. He rates. He's got brains and the right temperament. Just really blessed to have a horse that at this early age has so many of those mature horse qualities.
Let's just say, Davant, that he would win easily later tonight. Do you start thinking Kentucky Derby, or do you start looking at some big turf races since he's been so successful on the grass?
We start thinking Jeff Ruby. And
one step at a time.
Then we let the Ruby tell us what we do, because there is the $1 Million American Turf on Derby Day, which that's a very good race, a very good purse. I imagine we'll see stark contrast. The Ammerman horse come over from California for that race, so it will not be a layup, but it's certainly a race that you just throw away and don't consider. So we have to let each race tell us where to go.
Davant, tell me more about Midway Thoroughbreds.
Midway Thoroughbreds, we've got 8 partners. They are a mix of people who I've worked for years, either as an agent or assisting them buying horses, or they've invested with me on my weanling to yearling pinhooks. And the other half are new guys, and a group of my younger brother's friends from Chicago who are just enthusiastic as they can be. And then some great people, a couple of folks from Memphis, where I'm originally from, Fred Smith, Mike Keeney. My sister Paige is in on the horse. And, of course, she's convinced that she's the reason why the horse is so good, because it's her first time to own a piece of a horse.
Yeah, beginner's luck, right?
That's right. But it's a fun group. We bought 3 horses, and fortunately, Trendsetter was one, Kentucky bred, Virginia certified. He breaks his maiden at Colonial Downs, comes back, wins the Hickory Tree Stakes, was second in the preview here at Turfway, and we're probably going to take him to the Virginia Derby March 14. So that's another to have 2 stakes winners out of 3 horses purchased for relatively modest sums. We know we're blessed.
You know, I mentioned this is our Kentucky Bred Conversation segment, and Davant, I know you have been a huge supporter and, as you said, a big believer in this Kentucky Bred program for many, many years now. How come?
Well, first of all, you know, my background, I was a general manager of Vinery in the mid-'90s, and I know this is the best place in the world to raise a horse. And just the soil, it's the grass. Gets tough in the winter for the humans, but the horses don't mind it. And the program, how do you beat the money? How do you beat the opportunities that you have year-round racing in Kentucky? It's fantastic.
Yeah, the money's incredible, and I talk about it every single week on this segment that, when you come to Kentucky and you compete for that kind of money, the caliber of competition is also extremely good too. And I think that that's another feather in the cap of Kentucky racing, that you have big fields and you have big purses and you have great competition.
Look what it's done for Turfway in the winter. You never saw Brad Cox and Godolphin staying here for the winter until the Kentucky bred money became so strong.
Yeah. What do you say to your partners when you're putting these things together and you start talking to them about where they want to run their horses and they say, well, what about that race in California? But then you've got other spots in Kentucky that you really like. How do you I don't know, put that into words when you're talking to them about the Kentucky industry?
It's not that hard. It's really a dollars deal, and these purses are bigger. And yes, the competition's tougher maybe, but the purses are bigger. We're based here in Kentucky. It's always easier not to travel. And it's really, again, Ben and I see things very similarly. We have not had any confrontations about, no, we need to go to this race. We talk it through, and if I'm leaning one way, he can persuade me the other, or if he's leaning one way, I might be able to persuade him the different direction. But it's been easy, and our partners are enjoying it. We've got a group from Memphis that are flying up to Turfway tonight. They're bringing 8 people, and they're going to have a big time no matter what happens. They came up for the Leonidas and had a huge time. So it's really fun. And I always tell people racing is you can't understand the thrill of it if you don't have your toe in the water. It's great to watch. It's great to feel the win when you pick a winner, but to have a piece of that horse is a whole different level.
Yeah, it is. I remember my very first horse that I ever bought a piece of. His name was Rush, and I did it through my dear friend Jude Feld and Bob Feld.
Yeah.
And at that time, Bob had Bongo Racing. And I remember I couldn't be there for his first start. I was out at Santa Anita down the hill, and I had a huge party at my house in Lexington. And it looked like Rush was beaten. He was way back early, and he came flying at the end, passes everybody, and wins the race. And you want to talk about a dream come true. And I was already hooked on the sport, but that feeling of watching your horse win any race it's unparalleled.
The first horse I ever owned a piece of was a horse named Sky Robber, and Elliot Walden had just started training. I was working for Elliot. Ben, his brother, was in on the horse. A friend of mine from Virginia, Sarge Reynolds. Anyway, we bought him for $10,000. We run him at what is now Turfway, Latonia. First 2 starts, he doesn't do much. Third start, we dropped him down to maiden 10. And I've got the shank and a full beer, and I'm standing at the 16th pole on the apron. And that horse in the stretch starts passing horses, and he wins, and I'm running down the apron with him, and I get to the finish line, and I still have the shank, but I don't know where the hell the beer went.
Oh man, there's nothing like it. And I say it all the time. If we could take that feeling and bottle it and sell it, this would be the easiest sport in the world to market.
It would.
Well, Davant, I hope you get to experience that feeling later tonight at Turfway Park with Street Beast, and continued success with all the horses you're going to be sending out over the coming weeks and coming months. And I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Well, thanks so much, Mike, for your time. And I have to tell you, your show is so much fun. I love hearing the people that I know and that I don't know talk with you on the show about their horses and their past and their involvement in horse racing. And we appreciate your work.
Buddy, I really appreciate that, Davant. All the best.
Take care.
All right, Davant Latham, one of the real good guys in thoroughbred racing. So glad I got a chance to have him on the program here today. He's actually out in New Mexico, so he's up a little early with us here this morning. My next guest is going to be up really early, too. That is Doug O'Neill. He's training horses on the West Coast, so he's always up early, but he'll join me in the next segment. But, of course, Davant with our Kentucky bred conversation. In 2024, Kentucky racing paid out over $200 million in combined association purses and Kentucky Thoroughbred development funds across all conditions to become the richest year-round state. With the average field size of 8.9 horses, all sources wagering on Kentucky racing has grown the past 4 years, and we do not plan on slowing down. Make sure your horse is KTDF and KBIF eligible to secure your share of lucrative awards worldwide. For more information on racing and breeding in Kentucky, visit KentuckyBreds.com. Doug O'Neill set to join me next right here on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Coolmore Stallion Corniche, a $1.5 million OBS April sale topper by Quality Road and a two-time Grade 1 winner.
But it's Corniche. He's just too good. Corniche wins the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Voted champion 2-year-old male following his win in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, it's no surprise his 72 yearlings sold for an average of over $170,000, with a top-price colt of $725,000 and a top-price filly of $525,000. Corniche standing for only $15,000 at Coolmore's Ashford Stud.
Fans, prepare for a fantastic weekend here at Santa Anita Park. We have 10 big races today and some terrific wagering opportunities. There are 2 Pick 4s, 2 Pick 5s, a $3 late Pick 3, the Sunset Pick 6, and the $5 late Daily Double, all with a low 15% takeout. Plus the ever-popular Coast to Coast Pick 5 that always has terrific payouts and has that low 15% takeout as well. Plus, don't forget the $2 traditional Pick 6. My best bet today comes in race number 10. That's number 6, Chair's Coin. Both of her races on the turf were excellent, and she is trained by Michael McCarthy, who really knows how to win. I think you can bet her with confidence today. You could also be confident that we're going to have some great events here at Santa Anita, like this weekend's Lunar New Year celebration, a weekend filled with cultural shows, delicious food, and the Year of the Horse Wealth Tree, where First Reward members can win cash vouchers, and one lucky fan might take home $5,000. You can get all the details at santaanita.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
And they come to the final furlong. Exaggerator is closing in. Nyquist to catch with a 16th to go. Gunrunner, Exaggerator on the outside. Nyquist and Exaggerator, they're coming to the line together. And Nyquist is still unbeaten. He has won the Kentucky Derby. Exaggerator was second, and then a photo for third among sudden breaking news. And Gunrunner, and the final time was swift. 2 minutes, 1.31 seconds, set by a brilliant Nyquist.
What a call from Larry Colmus. Nyquist winning the 2016 Kentucky Derby. Can you believe it's been 10 years since Nyquist captured the first Kentucky Derby for trainer Doug O'Neill? What a day that was. Doug is with me now. He's hoping Pavlovian can take him back there again. Doug, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Yeah, that was great hearing Larry's call. That was one for the ages, and yeah, it is crazy. It's been that long, 10 years, crazy.
I know. We need to get back there again this year.
Amen. Why not us? Yes.
Why not us? Yeah. And of course, you would do it with the same connections, too. Talk to me a little bit more about Pavlovian.
Yeah, homebred of Paul and Zilla Redham, by Pavel, who, was a brilliant racehorse himself. And he's a lot like his dad. He's kind of a stubborn, hard-headed son of a gun. And knock on wood, he's been very durable. He's had, I think the other day it was his 11th start of his career, which is pretty phenomenal. And just a cool horse that's starting to kind of figure it out. And Edwin Maldonado, who worked him for us going into the race and rode him for the first time in the race, really got along with him great, and just hoping for steady progress here moving forward.
Well, he's currently ranked number 9 on the Derby points list. So if the race was run today, he would be in. A lot of ground to cover between now and then, as you well know. Is it too early to start talking about Pavlovian as a major player at this point?
I mean, it's just so it's come so quick, really, because even though we've always been excited about this guy, he's just been kind of surrounding him and not really been a true leader. And what he did, it just he kept giving you a hint that he might be okay, and just the way he did it the other day at Sunland was really exceptional, and showed more gate speed than we never really seen in him, and just showed that grit to get by a really, really good horse and Justin Evans' Horse Express kid. So I think, and the one thing too, even before him winning the Sunland Park Derby, was we always knew he had the stamina. I mean, the horse will run all day long. Just didn't know if he had that ability to be a leader and get there at the wire first, and he did the other day. So hopefully more to come.
Yeah, maybe a better way for me to have asked that question was, does the Sunland Park Derby victory make him a major contender? It certainly puts him on the radar. There's no doubt about that. What's next for him?
Still trying to figure that out, but he came back. He's here at Santa Anita. He looks phenomenal. Credit to the crew. And ironically, we shipped in to Justin Evans, so he was so kind with his hospitality, and he texted me right after the race, next time just don't beat me. So, he's back here in California, and one of the races we kind of got circled just timing-wise is the Louisiana Derby. Would be a good fit in the calendar for him. So, he's been back on the track here a couple of days, so it's still kind of early, and we'll probably breeze him here in the next week or 10 days, but that's definitely probably strongest on our radar.
Doug, those 2 Kentucky Derby wins under your belt, you've got plenty of experience getting horses to the first Saturday in May. When you talk about the Louisiana Derby being a good spot timing-wise, how much of your planning is timing, and how much of it is looking at the other horses who might be pointing for those certain races?
Yeah, probably a little of all that, and then of course your horse, how he's doing and where he's at as far as where to go. But Paul is a hard-working entrepreneur and successful businessman, but when he's not working on his business stuff, he loves studying and watching races from all around the country. So I'll probably lean on him a little bit there, and then Matt Nakatani, who Corey Nakatani's son. Matt's helping Paul kind of with a lot of stable stuff too. So I'll lean on Matt, who's actually a tremendous jockey agent. He had Rispoli, and now Rispoli's recovering. He's got Florent Giroux now out here. So definitely lean on Matt and Paul to kind of figure out competition-wise, and then but timing-wise, if all is equal, the spacing there would be something that would intrigue me.
Doug, when did you first start working with Paul Redham?
I got to think, Mark Schlesinger. It was sometime 2008-ish, maybe. I'm so bad with dates. Yeah, sometime in the early 2000s. But Mark Schlesinger, just a dear friend, great guy from the great state of Arkansas. Called me and said, man, I got a great friend who, I'd love to have come in as a partner on something. And I had no idea what he was talking about. And fast forward, here we are. So he was talking about Paul Redham. And, Paul's from Windsor, Canada, which is right over the border there of from Detroit, Michigan. So had that in common, me being from Detroit and Paul being from Windsor. He still loved all the Detroit teams, the Red Wings, the Pistons, the Lions, the Tigers. So, we immediately had that kind of common ground, and just, I don't know what, I must have did something right, because for God to bring him into my life is truly phenomenal. He's everything in horse racing. For me, his fingerprints are all over it, Paul. He's just been amazing and loyal and just a great guy.
Yeah, you're starting to reach that Shug Phipps rarefied air.
Yeah, and they're just, where do you find somebody that, you just are grateful to be a friend with and have him be a mentor? You see all that he's done, and, he's got a PhD in philosophy, such a bright human, and then just his work ethic is second to none, and his passion for the great sport of horse racing is amazing too. So, yeah, it's a real blessing and something that I think we all want someone like that in our lives, because they bring you up and they make you think bigger and think better and work harder.
Doug, 3,068 victories in your career. You are nominated to the Hall of Fame. Maybe this is the year that you get that plaque.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that would be pretty phenomenal. And but again, it kind of goes back to, you're only as good as your team. And we've got such a tremendous group of guys and gals that work alongside the horses every day. And I'm so blessed to have so many of the people like Leandro Mora and Sabas and Benjamin, that Antonio Romero. I'd be here all day if we mention all these guys, but we've been together for so long. And that's so key. And then all the owners from Paul and Zilla to, again, now I'm blessed. I've got Calumet that I'm able to work alongside too. So we got a great crew of owners and staff. And, it's been a really good run, and hopefully a lot more running to come.
Do you let yourself go there, Doug? I mentioned being nominated to the Hall of Fame, but do you let yourself go there in your mind and think about, what it would be like if you were to receive a phone call and say, "Hey, Doug, you're in"?
Just being talked about is enough for me. That's just such an honor. And, being a first-generation horseman, those are just such it's something that you never really could imagine in any, whatever work you do, to be considered in some type of Hall of Fame is just a tad ridiculous, really, but it's insane. And again, just being talked about is just the greatest honor ever. So it'd be pretty incredible, but it's already pretty darn incredible just being nominated.
No, you're a Hall of Famer in my book, brother, and I appreciate you taking time as always, and all the best with Pavlovian and all the other horses you're going to be sending out.
You're the best. Thanks for having me, Mike. You have a great day. Thank you.
All right. Keep it rolling. Doug O'Neill here on HRRN. And, full disclosure, I have voted for Doug when he's been nominated the past, I believe it's been 2 years now, and I voted for him, and he hasn't gotten in. He'll get my vote again this year if he's on the ballot, and I think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And who knows, maybe Pavlovian takes him back to the Kentucky Derby. He's another horse that we talked about earlier. Is he a contender? Is he a pretender? I'm not sure you look at him as being a contender, a really serious contender at this point, just coming out of that win at Sunland Park. But if he runs big in Louisiana, okay, now you're a contender. But all you can ask for, if you own a horse that you're hoping will take you to the Kentucky Derby, all you can hope for at this point is to be in the conversation, to have a shot. I owned a piece of a horse again with Bongo Racing. My wife and I did years ago, named Meeting with Destiny. And they named him Meeting with Destiny because it's 18 letters, and there has never been a Kentucky Derby winner in history to wear the roses with 18 letters in his name. So they went with Meeting with Destiny, which I thought was very appropriate. He took a shot in the Santa Anita Derby. If he runs well there, we're in. We're going to the Kentucky Derby. He didn't. He got smoked by Colonel John. But all you can ask for is a shot, a chance to be in the conversation. Pavlovian is there. He's in the conversation right now. Take your swing in the Louisiana Derby. See what you got. If the horse takes you there, great. If he doesn't, no harm, no foul. But you gave it a run. Good stuff from Doug O'Neill here this morning. All right, coming up next, I'll take a look at a couple historical dates in racing history and get you ready for Hour 3. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
All over America, people are taking the National Radon Test. Have you? Excuse me, have you heard of radon?
Is that a gas?
Is it something that comes up out the ground or something?
Well, it's like poison gas.
Something dangerous that you're supposed to check on to make sure it's not in your home.
Now it's your turn. Answer true or false. Radon is a radioactive gas. True, radon is a radioactive gas. True or false? The Office of the Surgeon General recommends that all homes be tested for radon. True, your home should be tested.
I didn't know that, no.
True or false, radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer. True.
True, I didn't know that.
Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer. Answer true or false. Homes with radon problems can be fixed. True. Homes with radon problems can be fixed.
So what do you do about it?
I'm going to dial the number and call.
1-800-SOS-RADON.
If I don't take care of it, nobody else will.
Keep your family safe from radon. Call now.
1-800-SOS-RADON.
James Brown and Bill Cowher welcoming you back to Dennis Melvin's house. It's time for the Midnight Snack Run.
This is one tricky obstacle course. Sticking to healthy habits in this kitchen is going to take focus and determination, but it can be done, JB.
He's already entered the snack part of the course, and he's eyeballing a jar of chocolatey candy.
That is tempting right off the start.
Uh-oh, he's reaching, Bill, but he pushes it away.
Great stiff arm.
He's approaching a plate of delicious-looking iced cookies.
Oh, Dennis, you only want one of those.
He blows right by him for the apple.
Oh, the fridge. It's make or break time, JB.
He stares down some rich-looking treats. Uh-oh, looks like he's headed for the soda. Wait, he jukes left, grabs the water bottle, and shuts the door with his elbow in record time.
Unbelievable move. I gotta see that again.
And he's out. He even turned off the light.
That's the way you execute a midnight snack run.
Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
My doctor said I could use something called a biosimilar. Then she told me what it is.
A biosimilar is a type of biologic medication. Just like brand name drugs have generic versions, original biologics can have biosimilars.
So I asked what the benefits are and if they work the same.
Biosimilars have the same safety, effectiveness, and quality as the original biologic. They also offer more medication options at potentially more competitive prices.
My doctor said I could learn more at fda.gov/biosimilars.
Check out the all-new HorseRacingRadio.net. All the same great horse racing radio content in a new, easy-to-use design. Listen to all of our shows streaming live or access the replays anytime. See our schedule, sign up for our newsletter, download our latest podcasts, and so much more. It's all on our website at HorseRacingRadio.net. That's HorseRacingRadio.net. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Getting ready to wrap up hour number 2. Hour 3 coming your way next with plenty of horse racing conversation. What else will we be talking about here on the Equine Forum? Of course, it's horse racing conversation. Joe Kristufek has the TwinSpires Triple Play, 3 races to watch and wager on with TwinSpires this afternoon. Kurt Becker, fantastic story about timely rider in his Stroll Through Racing History segment presented by Keeneland. And then, of course, Dale Tim still to come with I Ask, They Answer. Just a couple dates in racing history for you on this weekend, and they are both tomorrow. February 22nd, 1969. That was the day that Barbara Jo Rubin became the first woman jockey to win a parimutuel race in America when she rode Cohesion to victory at Charlestown. And February 22nd, 2003, the day that Extra Heat won the Barbara Fritchie Handicap and became the leading stakes-winning filly of all time with 25 stakes victories. She actually won 26 of 35 lifetime starts at Extra Heat, more than $2.3 million in career earnings, and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2015. So happy anniversary to the great Extra Heat. All right, as I mentioned, hour 3 coming your way next. I will reveal the answer to the Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question at the end of that hour, 10:55 Eastern or so. I've been asking you throughout the morning to weigh in on the poll question, the question of the day here this morning, more of a question of the day than a poll question, but asking you which racetrack most likely to give us the Kentucky Derby winner this year. And Gulfstream getting respect. Oaklawn also getting respect. Interesting. I think the horses in California, people aren't looking at those horses this year the way we have in the past. You just heard from Doug O'Neill. Bob Baffert, he's still out there as a major player. Always is. But nobody responding that Santa Anita is their pick, and that's interesting to me. The Santa Anita Derby's been pretty good over the past 10 to 15 years in producing Kentucky Derby winners. Doug O'Neill will tell you that. All right, my thanks to all of our guests who joined me in the first 2 hours of the program. If you did miss any portion of the first 2 hours, you can check out the podcast after we finish up. The entire show posted for you on our website and your favorite podcast platform. But don't go anywhere. Hour 3 coming your way next right here on HRRN, right after this 10-second pause. For station identification, this is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Silent tactic. Christian Torres drawing away to win the Southwest Stakes. Soldier and Diplomat, second best. He was in a photo, but I think he got it over Butane and then Rancho Santa Fe. Silent tactic. Gets it and picks up 20 Kentucky Derby points.
And here's Golden Tempo, who's rattling home up the rail for Jose Ortiz, but well inside the final 16th. It is still Carson Street. Golden Tempo coming full on. Golden Tempo is a top-notch victory. Golden Tempo has rallied to win the Lecomte.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Liberty National finishing up well toward the inside. Quality Mischief also trying to join these at the finish. It's Crown the Buckeye. Crown the Buckeye near home. Chip Poncho on the outside getting up. Chip Poncho has won it in the final strides in the Gunrunner Stakes. Chip Poncho determined. Paladin charging hard on the outside. Carson Street is third. Golden Tempo's fourth with Universe in fifth. Paladin tries to track down Chip Poncho. Here's Paladin with power and purpose to win the Resistar.
Now here's Mike Penna.
Welcome back. Hour 3 of the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, barreling toward the finish line on what has been a really busy morning. Talking about the Oaks picture, talking about the Derby picture, looking ahead to the John Battaglia Memorial at Turfway later today, and looking back on some of the horses who have captured the road to the Kentucky Derby points races in previous weeks and what their future might hold for them, at least what their connections hope it will hold. And that, of course, ultimately is a date with the starting gate on the first Saturday in May beneath the TwinSpires. If you missed any portion of our conversations in the first 2 hours of the program, head back to our website, horseracingradio.net. You can listen to the podcast there whenever you have some time, and you can do that too on your favorite podcast platform. So wherever you get your podcast, type in Horse Racing Radio Network and follow along with this show and all the shows we bring your way here on HRRN every single week. Hour 3 begins as it does every week with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Joe Kristufek will have 3 races for you to watch and wager on with TwinSpires this afternoon. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History, coming up at 10:20. A cool story on a horse by the name of Timely Rider. And then at 10:30, I Ask, They Answer with Dale Romans, with Tim Wilkin. So lots of things to get to. Time now for your TwinSpires Triple Play. Joe K from the Fairgrounds, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Mike. How you doing?
Doing good, buddy. How was Mardi Gras?
Well, it was great, but when you wrap the Louisiana Derby preview day around it, along with Valentine's Day, along with the Endymion Parade, and everything else that was going on work and racing-wise, and Mardi Gras Monday and Tuesday, it was pretty crazy, man. I mean, more so even than usual. But we're on the other side of it now, and it's always fun, but it's always good to move forward from it.
Well, we're going to move forward here this morning with the 3 races you have chosen for this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. They all come from the fairgrounds, and they are going to be run in succession. You have chosen the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th race on today's card. So let's kick it off with the 6th, a 5.5 furlong turf sprint, optional claiming with a purse of $57,000.
Yeah, I mean, the horse that's proven, maybe more so than any, sprinting on the turf is Monsieur Candy, who was 3rd in an open optional claiming 2 other than when last seen back in mid-December. And since that time, we've had a trainer change to Larry Ravelli. I don't know if it was a private purchase, but when it comes to turf sprinters, I mean, he's got a Breeders' Cup turf sprint winner. He's had a lot of success with turf sprinters over the years, winning a lot of races at Kentucky Downs and elsewhere with those kinds. And I would think that Ravelli might be able to help take this one to a new level. Monsieur Candy, 6-1 in the morning line. I'm not sure that's going to happen. Go Sugar is the 9-5 favorite. You think of him as a dirt horse. He does have 3 wins on the turf, but based on the expected value, if I were to get 7-2 on Monsieur Candy, I think I would be happy with that, Mike.
Yeah, really solid turf record there. 9 career starts on the grass, 2 wins, 2 seconds, and 4 thirds. So always around. And same thing here at the distance of sprinting 5.5 furlongs on the grass. It seems to be what he is best suited for. And the 5-year-old gelding will be ridden by Jareth Ludberry. And as Joe mentioned, Monsieur Candy, number 5, 6-1 on the morning line in race number 6 at the fairgrounds. Joe, race 7 is the second leg you've chosen. This is a 6 furlong maiden special weight with a purse of $54,000, and not just for 3-year-olds, it's for 3-year-olds and up. So we'll see some older horses trying to get that first win on their resume. How'd you see race 7?
Yeah, we're starting to get to the point of the year now where at least here at Fairgrounds, Scott Jones is utilizing some races for 3 and older. And you got a 4-year-old first-time starter, transformational, a half to Monterey for Brad Cox, who looks like that one could be dangerous. A Godolphin homebred, a few other ways you could go here. Sergeant Sully for Will Walden was not surprisingly started a horse at this current fairground stand. I went with Swagging, though. 3rd career start, 2nd in the barn of Wayne Catalano, 2nd off of the layoff, ran 2nd, last out at 13-1. That was a fast pace up front, 45 flat. This horse was battling every step of the way, wound up getting reeled in by Favorite Day that particular day. And Favorite Day stretched out yesterday and ran 2nd behind Reagan's Honor for Cherie DeVoe, who probably has stakes next in his sights that could be on the road to the Kentucky Derby. I'm guessing that that one will certainly try to head in that direction. And, Swagging, lots of reasons to think this horse could take a step forward, has speed, but off of that fresh race last stop, maybe able to relax a little bit better in this one. So in a pretty tough race for the level, I'm going to give the edge to Swagging.
Swagging's the old man in the group, too. He's a 5-year-old gelding, the oldest horse in the race.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there's something to be said for that. I mean, we did see Reagan's Honor beat older horses earlier this week at the fairgrounds around 2 turns. But, for the most part, I think unless there's a major talent gap, you're going to lean towards these older horses in a lot of these situations. So Swagging, obviously a 5-year-old and obviously very lightly raced with just 3 career starts.
Yeah, and he was highly regarded as a youngster, too. They paid $560,000 for him at the Keeneland September sale back in 2022. So he's always been a horse that they thought had some ability, and here he is 3-1 on the morning line in race number 7 this afternoon at the fairgrounds, and he is the top pick of Joe Kristufek here this morning. Joe, one more to talk about, race number 8. The final leg of the triple play, and I want to remind our listeners that when they go to TwinSpires, they won't see a specific TwinSpires triple play wager, but you can bet each of the races we're talking about any way you like, as long as you're doing it with our friends at TwinSpires. So make sure you do that later today. Race number 8, mile and a 16th on the turf. I love these kind of races, Joe. Optional claimer, $80,000 with a purse of $58,000. How'd you see this one?
Yeah, it's borderline stakes caliber. You got a lot of horses in here that have stakes experience, or a lot of other horses that maybe have stakes aspirations, and a lot of different ways you can go. It's a tremendous betting race. I give the edge here based on the expected value to the number 2, Maycox Bay, who interestingly enough has never run on the turf for Mike Stidham and has not been seen in the better part of, 11 months, having last raced late March of 2025 at Oaklawn against Stakes Company. But if you look at the pedigree, the dam was grade 3 placed on the turf. Looks like Mike is taking his time to get this Godolphin homebred ready to rock and roll off the layoff. You get Brian Hernandez Jr. would appear to be a good fit in the saddle. And maybe most importantly, you never know, but could be a major fact when evaluating this horse. First time gelding, Mike. So we'll see, maybe this horse has always needed a little bit additional focus off the layoff, gelded. Workouts look good leading up to this. You get 8-1 in the morning line with a horse that does have some turf pedigree. Mike actually had the horse enter for a turf race in January of 2024. Race came off the turf, and he won by almost 11 lengths, and he hasn't tried to get him back on the turf since.
Yeah, what do they say, Joe? The ultimate equipment change?
Yeah, I mean, it is the ultimate equipment change, and we'll see if it works in this regard with this particular individual, because it can be a big angle, and it just looks like with this particular horse it might be. And we got a lot of different equipment changes. This is the ultimate one, like you said.
Joe, what did you make of what we saw in the Derby prep last weekend with Paladin?
Yeah, I thought it was a workmanlike performance, and I think Chad Brown probably got everything he wanted out of it. 9 furlongs off the bench is never easy. He's obviously already proven over 9 furlongs on a couple of different occasions now. Unlike Sierra Leone, who won this race a few years ago, Paladin's got a lot more tactical speed from the starting gate. You like to see him get a little bit faster moving forward, but you also would think that he would have every right to do just that. Still lightly raced, I think, just 3 starts under his belt at this point, but he does everything the right way. I think that tactical speed will work to his advantage to at least put himself in an early position, both in the Bluegrass and in the Kentucky Derby moving forward.
All right, let me recap Joe's top picks for you in this week's TwinSpires Triple Play before he tells you what you can look forward to at TwinSpires this weekend. Race 6 at the Fairgrounds, Joe will take number 5, Mansour Candy, at odds of 6-1. Race 7, he'll go with number 6, Swagging, at 3-1. And in race number 8, number 2, Maycox Bay. Solid price there, 8-1 on the morning line. Joe, what's up at TwinSpires this weekend?
Yeah, just a lot of different tournaments. Obviously, as always, cash games, feeders in the qualifiers for the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge, the NHC, the BCBC, etc. They've got that $10,000 Road to the Derby win ladder, which is always a great promotion. $10 win bets. The more winners you pick on a particular card that is hosting a Kentucky Derby prep, the more bonus money you can potentially unlock. Make sure you opt in to that. Obviously, it would be the Battaglia from Turfway that the race this week that we're going to be using to apply that promotion for.
All right, buddy. Listen, I appreciate it. I know you were a touch under the weather today. You couldn't tell. Another Hall of Fame appearance, buddy. Really appreciate it. You're a primetime player. Good luck with those selections. Yeah, all right, Mike. Thanks. Thanks to you, and all the best to you and Michelle, too, my man. All right, buddy. We'll talk soon. Joe Kristufek with this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. Again, bet every race you're going to play this weekend. Just make sure you're doing it with TwinSpires. If you missed it over the first couple of hours of the program, this week's Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question. Here it is. What horse was the first thoroughbred to be imported into the United States? Get your mojo working. See if you can come up with the answer to that one. No Googling. The answer comes your way at the end of the show. 10:55 Eastern is the approximate time that I will pass along that answer for you here this morning. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History, coming up next. Stay tuned for that. Still to come, Dale, Tim, I Ask, They Answer at 10:30. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Tenda Equine and Pet Care products have been keeping world-class equine athletes happy and healthy for generations. Keep your equine athlete looking and performing well with Tenda Next Generation Wound and Skin Care Treatment, along with nutritional supplements, leg and muscle care products, salves, hoof care, poultice, topical aids, and grooming products. Visit tendahorse.com today.
Fans, prepare for a fantastic weekend here at Santa Anita Park. We have 10 big races today and some terrific wagering opportunities. There are 2 Pick 4s, 2 Pick 5s, a $3 late Pick 3, the Sunset Pick 6, and the $5 late Daily Double, all with a low 15% takeout. Plus the ever-popular Coast to Coast Pick 5 that always has terrific payouts and has that low 15% takeout as well. Plus, don't forget the $2 traditional Pick 6. My best bet today comes in race number 10. That's number 6, Chairs Coin. Both of her races on the turf were excellent, and she is trained by Michael McCarthy, who really knows how to win. I think you can bet her with confidence today. You can also be confident that we're going to have some great events here at Santa Anita, like this weekend's Lunar New Year celebration, a weekend filled with cultural shows, delicious food, and the Year of the Horse Wealth Tree, where First Reward members can win cash vouchers, and one lucky fan might take home $5,000. You can get all the details at santaanita.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Hello, I'm Kurt Becker. Thanks for joining me as I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. Jim from New Jersey recently contacted us with a suggestion for the stroll, asking if we would look back at the career of Timely Rider. As Jim said in the email he sent, Timely Rider had an ill-fated, abbreviated career that touched so many people he was honored with a burial in Belmont Park's infield. Jim's suggestion is well taken, and so today we remember Timely Rider. Foaled on April 21st, 1979 at the Horse Haven of breeder Dorothy Davis in Reddick, Florida, Timely Rider was a bay colt by Staff Rider out of Timely Roman by Sette Bello. The colt's sire and dam were both unraced. Consigned as a weanling to the Ocala Breeders' Fall Mixed Sale, but bought back for a price of $4,500, Timely Rider was consigned by his breeder the following year to the Kentucky Yearling Sales. Tony Everard bought the colt for $13,500, acting as agent on behalf of brothers Fran and Peter Martin of Dorchester, Massachusetts. Sent to trainer Dom Impresia, a former used car dealer from Fitchburg, Massachusetts, who had long raced the New England circuit, Timely Rider would make his debut as a juvenile on June 9, 1981. He won a $30,000 maiden claiming event at Monmouth Park by 8 lengths, and he ran back at Suffolk Downs in East Boston on July 4th and captured the Mayflower Stakes, paying $20 at the windows. After running a wide but closing third in his next start, the Grade 2 Saratoga Special, Timely Rider got blinkers for the Grade 1 Hopeful a few weeks later at Saratoga and won by 4 lengths. He would run third in the Grade 1 Futurity and runner-up in the Grade 2 Cowden before romping home by nearly 5 lengths in the Grade 1 Champagne at Belmont Park under jockey Jeff Fell in a race televised live by CBS. Left in Timely Rider's wake that day were Deputy Minister and Before Dawn, who would be named Eclipse Champion 2-year-old male and female respectively. As for not winning the Eclipse, co-owner Fran Martin asked rhetorically, "They do have Eclipse awards for 3-year-olds, do they not?" Timely Rider had won nearly $220,000 in the span of 7 races during that juvenile season, prompting Fran Martin to call him the chance of a lifetime. It would also soon be announced that Dr. William Reed had purchased 1/2 interest in the colt's breeding rights for a reported $3 million. Turning the calendar to 1982, Timely Rider went to Florida and went to the post on March 6th in the Grade 1 Flamingo at Hialeah Park. In a race televised by ABC, he broke from post position number 15, was wide on both turns, and won on a sloppy track by 3.5 lengths as the 5-2 favorite. It also clinched a title for Impressia as the meet's leading trainer. 1 month later, Timely Rider stepped into the starting gate as the 4-5 favorite for the Grade 1 Florida Derby at Gulfstream Park, once again winning with relative ease. He was now emerging as the colt to beat in the Kentucky Derby, and he shipped to Churchill Downs to begin preparations for the race. But a little less than 3 weeks before the Derby, Timely Rider became ill and was rushed to a veterinary clinic in nearby Lexington. He was suffering from inflammation of the small intestine and distension of the stomach, most likely from eating moldy hay. He underwent emergency surgery, made a quick recovery, and was back to jogging by mid-June. But he had missed the entire Triple Crown Series. Timely Rider returned to the races with a win on August 14th in the Yankee Handicap at Suffolk, and he won an overnight handicap at Saratoga 10 days later. He ran a puzzling 7th in the Marlboro Cup Invitational in mid-September, but bounced back to win at 1 mile 5/8 at Belmont Park by nearly 8 lengths. On October 9th, 1982, Timely Rider went to the post for the Grade 1 Jockey Club Gold Cup. He was the 2-1 favorite, and it would be the final start of his career. With just under a half-mile to go, Timely Rider took an awkward step. His left foreleg sustained a catastrophic injury. He was buried in the Belmont Park infield 24 hours later. It was said that Timely Rider was a good horse beset by problems not of his making. It seemed that each time he was on the threshold of glory, he was struck down. As turf writer and historian Ed Bowen put it, Timely Rider was a stark reminder of the fragility of dreams and plans. Kent Hollingsworth, editor of Blood Horse, said Timely Rider had come of humble origin to beat the establishment. Hollingsworth noted he was a horse of speed, class, and courage, but was also unlucky. He raced against that reality throughout his career, said Hollingsworth, every step of the way to his last. Hollingsworth then offered a final thought on Timely Rider and his fateful final race. Hollingsworth said, quote, "Disappointment one day heightens the pleasure of success on another day, except when there can be no other days. When anticipation ends, when ability and class are not enough, when strength ebbs, when rhythmic beauty sprawls, and the heart is stopped. He was good, maybe the best, but Timely Rider was also a star-crossed colt." End quote. We remember Timely Rider, and we thank Jim from New Jersey for encouraging us to take time to do so. Please join me again next week when I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. For HRRN, I'm Kurt Becker.
Kurt Becker with another fantastic story. If you did miss it, head over to our website after I finish up at 11 a.m. Eastern. And don't forget to subscribe to us on Podbean or Apple Podcasts to hear all of our weekly shows. Coming up next, I welcome Dale Romans and Tim Wilkin for this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
You're listening to HRRN, Horse Racing's Voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
A Keeneland session topper from the first crop of the all-conquering Vekoma. Jonathan's Way was touted by purchaser John Moynihan as, quote, one of the best-looking horses you'll ever lay your eyes on. Out of an undefeated stakes-winning juvenile daughter of Indian Charlie, Jonathan's Way is a complete outcross through his first 5 generations and comes from the immediate female family of the great Dynaformer. Brilliantly talented with a pedigree and physical makeup to be commercial dynamite. Jonathan's Way, a future stallion star, standing at Airdrie Stud. Think about it.
This is I Ask, They Answer on the Equine Forum on HRRN.
Match race at the quarter pole. Ewing on the inside, an obliteration. Stride for stride through a half in, 45-2, and Ewing maintains the lead coming to the 8th pole. He's 2 in front of Obliteration and still running powerfully. Obliteration trying his best. Ewing coming to the 16th pole, a length and a half in front. Obliteration still second. Ewing by 2 lengths close to home, and what a spectacular display from Ewing, who beats Obliteration in the Saratoga Special. He is special indeed.
Yeah, he was special. Frank Miramati had the call. Ewing looked like the real deal with that win in last year's Saratoga Special. Hear what Dale and Tim have to say about his 6th place finish in last weekend's Ozark Stakes. Plus, with the news of Baeza moving to trainer Bill Mott, does anyone have a stronger hand in the older horse division? And which horse named for top athletes do Dale and Tim see as their all-time leaders, and who makes their list and who doesn't? We're going to talk about those topics and much, much more straight ahead on this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer with trainer Dale Romans and turf rider Tim Wilkin, all presented by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program in the College of Business, and all starting just 30 seconds from right now.
A spark turns into a dream, and your dreams fuel a love that will last a lifetime. Turn your passion into a career with experienced guidance, a thorough study of equine business, as well as opportunities to get your hands dirty and put your mind to work. Located in the heart of horse country, let your passion fuel your profession at the U of L Equine Industry Program. Apply today.
All right, Dale Romans is in Florida. Tim Wilkin is in New York, and we are ready to roll for this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer. Guys, we kick it off with a listener-submitted question. Our man Shane in North Carolina has this question for you guys. He has a buy or sell question. He says, Ewing, the winner of last summer's Grade 2 Saratoga Special, we heard that call to open the show, finished 6th in last Saturday's Ozark Stakes as the 3-5 favorite. It was his first start since that Saratoga Special win last year on August 2nd. Guys, are you still buying him as a viable horse on the Derby Trail, or, Tim, time to sell?
I'm selling. I mean, it's, you know, he was fantastic at Saratoga last summer, winning Breaking His Maiden by 12 and then winning the Special. He only beat a total of, I think, 7 horses. Mark Casse, you know, gave him the time off, and he's 6 months. And he just did not perform at all. I mean, I know that they were trying to do some things with him in that race, and none of them worked. And I would think he'd probably be off the trail now. And who knows? Maybe they'll get him right, and we'll see him running in shorter races as we go forward this year, but I don't think he's a route guy.
Yeah, I talked to Mark earlier in the show, Timmy, and he mentioned that this performance was a head-scratcher for him. He has no idea what happened. He said he just didn't show up, and he's planning to take him back to Ocala, give him a little time, work with him, and see if he still wants to be a racehorse going forward and see what he does with him from there.
I mean, he showed a heck of a lot of talent last summer. There's no doubt about that. I mean, he was a buzz horse for a while up at Saratoga. But as we all know, there's a lot of buzz horses at Saratoga that never could keep that buzz moving on as a 3-year-old.
Dale, you've been in this position before. Head-scratching performance by Ewing. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, he's been over Oakland where they had some spotty weather, spotty training, trying to come off the layoff. I think you can make a lot of excuses for him. I never had him on the Derby Trail as far as I was concerned. I don't know that they ever did either. I think they were thinking more like a Preakness horse or something like that. But, you know, he's a good horse. He's got talent. He's in good hands. I wouldn't be surprised to see him come back and be a factor later in the year and show up in the Woody Stevens, the Amsterdam, the Allen Jerkins. There's a lot of good racing out there besides just the Triple Crown horses. And he's a good horse in good hands. He'll be back.
That's a good point. We're going to stick with Ewing for our next topic. He's named for NBA Hall of Famer Patrick Ewing, and there have been numerous horses over the years named for athletes in other sports. Tim, I'm going to start with you here. Give me your 5 favorite all-time names of horses that honor athletes in different sports.
Well, there's been plenty of them. There was actually a horse named DiMaggio years back, named for Joe DiMaggio. I don't think the horse didn't amount to much. I don't even think he won 56 races in a row, if you get my drift on that one. You do
well played.
Right.
You're diving deep there, Jim. They're real baseball fans.
Well, I'm going to put on the top of my list. I'm going to put Nyquist, who won the Derby in 2016, named for the Detroit Red Wing hockey player Gustav Nyquist. There was a horse named Syndergaard, who was second in the Champagne in 2016, and he was named for Noah Syndergaard, who played for the New York Mets, who actually, he was the rage in baseball for a little while in 2016, as Syndergaard the horse was. Both of them kind of flamed out, but I remember being down in the paddock at the Champagne and at Belmont, and Syndergaard the baseball player was there to see Syndergaard the horse, was posing for pictures with Johnny V. It was kind of a neat moment. And Syndergaard the pitcher was an all-star that year. I put Gronkowski in there, named for Rob Gronkowski, in the New England Patriots tight end. He was second in the Belmont in 18. I think Gronkowski had part of the ownership group too. Rob was. 4, I'm going to put Bolt d'Oro, named for Usain Bolt, the great sprinter. He won 5 of his first 6 starts. He won the Santa Anita Derby, then flamed out in the Kentucky Derby in 18, was 12th. I'm going to go back for my last one to Chris Everett, the great tennis player. There was a horse named Chris Everett, who was the 1974 champion 3-year-old filly, who is now in the Hall of Fame. So, those are my 5, but there's a whole bunch. Larry the Legend, named for Larry Bird. Kobe's back, named for Kobe Bryant. The list goes on and on.
Well, I'll give a little inside story on our program here to everybody. Whenever he goes to Timmy first, he knows I haven't done my research, and he's going to Tim, so I can just riff off of him. And this was a good example of when that was appropriate.
You have an easy one, though, Dale. There's an easy one.
Bob Roski.
Yes.
What about Bob Roski? My horse, my 2-year-old, is going to come back and compete with Ewing in those 3 races I mentioned earlier in New York. But Bob Roski's a good one. There was a horse named the Great One after Gretzky. There's a Champ Ali. My friend Greg Foley trained, made $1 million, named after for Muhammad Ali. Those are just 3 I've come up with off the top of my head.
Yeah, there have been so many over the years.
He's my favorite.
How did you guys come up with that name? Did you even talk to the goalie? He's the name for the goalie for the Panthers.
Yeah, the goalie for the Panthers. No, I knew nothing about hockey, and Benny Viola was a friend. When he bought the Panthers, I started following the Panthers, and my partner on the horse, a big Panther fan, and Bob Roski, when we were looking for a name, had a great game the night before. He said, what better name? Let's go with Bob Roski.
Does he know about the horse?
I don't know. I don't have any idea. I should ask Benny to tell him about him if he doesn't.
Get him out to the barn in Florida.
Yeah, he should. He should come visit him.
Yeah, I love it.
So I love that call, though. The call that at Saratoga when he won the stake, or when he broke his maiden. He's the announcer says nothing gets past Bob Roski, and it took me a minute, not being a real hockey fan, to think about it. And later, somebody pointed out to me that no pucks get by Bob Roski and no horses get by my Bob Roski.
Is he the only horse you've ever had named after an athlete?
Tammy named one I gave to her, Kobe B, for Kobe Bryant, but he was a good claiming horse, won a lot of races, but he wasn't a good horse. Let me think of anything else. I don't think so.
That's a great question.
Any off the top of my head.
Well, you know what? If our listeners have some questions, have some names that they like, and they can recall, we're going to encourage them to send them to us on social media at HRRN on X and Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, or they can email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net. I'd love to hear what they come up with some of the other names that have been some of the other horses named after professional athletes.
Well, they could have names after actors, anybody, presidents. I'm sure there's some like that too.
Remember Shecky Green?
Yeah.
Named after the comedian.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Jacqueline Klugman, named for Jack Klugman. He thought he owned a filly and he owned a colt, and he named it Jacqueline Klugman.
Yep, I remember that one too. I remember talking to Jack Klugman himself about that. That's a story for another day.
Yep.
How is it that nobody's never named a horse after the legendary New York basketball star Tim Wilkin?
Well, I don't think the Jockey Club would allow it.
I think somebody will now.
People don't know Tim was a Division I college basketball player. I've seen the pictures.
Yep.
Well, Dale, I'm waiting for you to give me a name. Give me a horse.
Tell them who your coach was. Who was in that picture with you?
Well, when I tried out for the Albany Patroons in the Continental Basketball Association, did a diary for a week, and the coach was none other than Phil Jackson. So I'm a trivia question that who coached Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, and Tim Wilkin? Phil Jackson.
That's pretty good. And you got a picture to prove it. I've seen it.
What a great story. I love it. All right, guys. We could spend a long time on this topic, but we're going to move on to Tom in St. Louis, who submits our next question for us. Tom finds it really interesting that trainer Chad Brown, after winning the Risen Star last week with Paladin, would opt to skip the Louisiana Derby and run instead in the Bluegrass. That would give Paladin less rest between his final prep and the Kentucky Derby. But Tom wants to know why a trainer would not try to maximize the amount of rest time for a horse's final prep going into the Kentucky Derby. Dale, you want this one?
Yeah, I'll start there. It's worked for Chad in the past. You know, he's had a couple horses he's done it with that ran well in the Kentucky Derby, and sometimes you want to run a little bit closer. You know, so he might want to maximize his rest between his last two preps and be sharp going into the Kentucky Derby. A lot of horses do better with more work, and I'm not going to second guess Chad. He's done a pretty good job getting horses to the Triple Crown races and running well. So, yeah, it's just his strategy. And, you know, we're all creatures of habit. What's worked for him in the past, he'll do again.
Is it one of those situations, Dale, where it's every horse is an individual, and for one horse it might work, for another horse it doesn't?
It's every horse is an individual, but like I said, we're all creatures of habit, and what's worked for us we like to stick to, and that's worked for him, that pattern of the Risen Star into the Bluegrass into the Triple Crown.
You know, you don't mess with things that work. In 2022, he had Zandon, and he started his career with a maiden at Belmont, the Remsen, then the Risen Star. Then he went to the Bluegrass. He won the Bluegrass. Sierra Leone in 2024 broke his maiden at Belmont, second in the Remsen. Then first in the Risen Star, then he went to Bluegrass, won that, and was second by a whisker in the Derby. And now Paladin, he's won his first three, the same pattern, the maiden at Belmont, the Remsen, now the Risen Star. It makes perfect sense why Chad would just stay with what works for him. And why would you change? He's had Zandon. I mean, Sierra Leone obviously was the better horse than Zandon, but you know the fact that he got these horses ready in that way and took them on that direct trajectory to the Derby, it works. So why wouldn't you do it again? And who knows? Maybe Paladin's better than all the other two. I mean, he's a pretty nice horse.
Yeah, he's a good horse. And let's be clear, we're not talking about coming back on 2 weeks rest into the Kentucky Derby. The Bluegrass is April 4th, so that still gives him 4 weeks coming into the Derby, which is normal.
Yeah, I think it's a good pattern. It's worked. Stick with it, Chad.
Well, we'll see how it plays out for Paladin, who looked good winning last week in his return. And I think Chad has to be happy where he's sitting with the horse who is now the points leader in the road to the Kentucky Derby Series. Time to say hello to our friend Nick Zito. And Dale and Tim get to tell me if the following statement is right or wrong.
Yeah, right or wrong. Am I right? What do you think? Right or wrong?
All right, Nikki, let's find out. Each week, the NTRA releases its top thoroughbred poll for 3-year-olds, and Dale loves polls. And they also do a poll for older horses. We're focusing on the older horse poll with this question. This week, 2025 Horse of the Year Sovereignty holds down the top spot, but just barely over Forever Young, who won the Saudi Cup last week. Sovereignty received 16 first-place votes and 286 points to 14 first-place votes and 240 points for Forever Young. Guys, 7 of the 33 voters did not even list Forever Young in their top 10. So I'm going to ask you, Tim Wilkin, is leaving Forever Young off the ballot entirely right, or is it entirely wrong?
Yeah, right or wrong. Am I right?
He's right. I'm one of the 7 that left him off. I vote in the poll, and I'm going to stick to these guns forever. I think you have to be a horse that runs the majority of your career, of your season in the United States to be eligible for these awards. Make no mistake about it. Forever Young is a damn good racehorse, maybe the best racehorse, but until he races in the U.S., and he's only going to have one start most likely in the U.S. this year, and that's the Breeders' Cup Classic, the race he won last year, and I didn't vote for him last year for the Eclipse because that was the only race he had. These are our awards. These are the awards that are for the horses that are based in the U.S. and run in the U.S., and, I feel bad penalizing him because he's a talented horse. But if he's not going to run in the U.S., I'm not going to vote for him.
Timmy, we're not talking about awards here, though. We're talking about a poll. Where does it state in the rules that the horse has to be based in North America?
It doesn't, but the majority of the horses do race in North America, so I'm going to keep it that way. So, I'm in the minority on this one, but I'm going to keep it that way. There were actually also 2 voters that didn't vote for Sovereignty at all, and I get that because he hasn't done anything yet this year. But, and I voted for Nysos. I mean, he's in my top 10 because he's going to be a horse that races in the U.S. for the most part of his season this year. Forever Young wants to be on my list. He's got to race over here.
Shame on Timmy. I agree with you. It's not an award. It's a poll on who's the best. And to leave Forever Young out is wrong. I mean, it means nothing. Like we always talk about, polls mean nothing. It's just public opinion. But you got to be on this horse's bandwagon. This is a special horse. This is one of the best horses we've seen in generations. And he wins all over the world. And I tip my hat to him. He should have been number 1 because, like you say, Sovereignty hasn't done anything yet this year.
No, I think they got to meet on the track to do. Hopefully, they will meet on the track at the end of the year. They both stay together, but I'm gonna hold my guns on this one.
Tim, are you starting to question whether or not Sovereignty is going to come back as the same Sovereignty we saw as a 3-year-old, since we haven't seen him yet in his 4-year-old season?
No, I think he's still a major talent. He had his first work last weekend. Worked pretty well for his first work back since, before he got sick before the Classic. I mean, I just think this is a horse that breathes different air, and I think he's going to come back as good, or if not better, than he was last year. In Bill Mott, you've got to trust. And that's when you got Bill Mott running the show, you're ahead of the curve already.
Well, we're going to bring Nick Zito back for that segment on I Ask the Answer next Saturday morning, as we do every single week here on the show. One more topic before our final point of the week, and we're going to stick with trainer Bill Mott. The news coming out last week that owner Lee Searing of CRK Stable would move Baeza, the Pennsylvania Derby champion and third-place finisher in last year's Derby in Belmont, going to move him to the barn of Hall of Fame trainer Bill Mott. And, of course, this comes after the sudden passing of former trainer John Sheriffs. Guys, what does this mean for the Mott Barn, which is already, as we just talked about, home to Horse of the Year Sovereignty, who both of these are now 4 years old? Does anybody Dale holding a stronger hand in the older horse division than Bill Mott right now.
There nobody is, and he deserves it. Like Wayne Lucas told me years ago, you have to earn the right to train these horses, and Bill Mott has earned the right. He's one of the patriarchs of the game right now, and I'm sure he'll do very well with this horse.
It'll be interesting to see how he keeps them separated. That he's already been quoted as saying he doesn't want them to necessarily run against each other early on. As the year gets deeper, both horses will have the Breeders' Cup Classic as their ultimate goal. How they get there is the question. I think that there are plenty of horse races for older horses around the country, and I know that the ownership group of Baeza wants to run the Pacific Classic. So perhaps we won't see Baeza run in Saratoga this summer, Whitney or Jockey Club Gold Cup, obviously, because of the Pacific Classic. But there's going to be a time when they do have to run against each other just for the sake of they have to run. It'll be interesting to see how he does that. And, as far as, who might have older horses that could compete with those two, I don't think there is anyone that has two that are as high profile as this. Maybe Baffert with Nysos and Nevada Beach. But, it's going to – Bill Bott seems to hold all the cards right now, the older horse division.
Timmy, how far away is Baeza from being in the same league or a serious challenger to Sovereignty right now?
Well, he couldn't beat him twice last year in the Belmont and the Jim Dandy. I mean, he had his signature win in the Pennsylvania Derby, and John Sheriffs, I remember talking to him at length about Baeza, how excited he was for him as a 4-year-old. He really thought that this horse was going to blossom this season, and it's a darn shame that John isn't going to be around to see it. I think the potential is limitless. He seems to have all the tools to be a really, really good horse. But I don't know. Maybe Sovereignty will take the heart away from him. I don't know.
Dale, what is it about Bill Mott that makes him Bill Mott?
Well, he's seen everything, and he's seen it at the highest level for a long time. And he's just patient, and he's consistent in everything he does: horse racing, life, entertainment, fun. Bill's a lot of fun. People don't know. He might not come across that way. A great guy, but he just is even-keeled about everything he does and takes everything in stride. And, you can't question him. Anything he says or does is the way it should be done.
Got a great dry sense of humor.
He's really a good man. One of my favorite people in the game.
Yeah. Dale, what challenges does a trainer face when they take over a horse like this, or really any horse, midway through their racing career?
Well, like I say, going to a guy like Bill's a good move because he's seen it all, and it won't take him long to figure the horse out. And I'm sure he'll get a lot of feedback from the people that have been around him, the assistant trainers, the exercise riders, everybody, to when he takes him over, and it'll be pretty consistent. It won't be a problem. You got a talented horse. A lot of people can get the best out of him.
Tim, does journalism still fit into the conversation for you?
I think so, until he shows that he doesn't. I mean, if not for Sovereignty last year, he might have been the most special horse that we had last year as a 3-year-old. He was that good. And if he comes back, and I think he's probably going to be coming back later than sooner, but when he does, I mean, if he still shows the tenacity that he did as a 3-year-old, I mean, the older horse division could be just a heck of a lot of fun this year. I mean, remember when we were talking last year about the older horse division with the likes of Mind Frame and Fierceness and the like, saying it was like one of the better classes that we've had in years. This crop still has the potential to maybe even be better. If all of these horses keep progressing, I mean, it's going to be a dogfight. Even though I think if Sovereignty continues to go as he goes, they're going to have a hard time running him down.
Dale, can you recall a horse in your career that was sent to you, a relatively high caliber horse that was sent to you midway through their career or at some point in their career, and you had to start working with them and figuring them out?
Little Mike is the best example. He was a steady grade 3 type of horse when I got him, and he went on to win a couple of grade 1s. He was he was a nice pickup. He was a nice addition to the barn, and went on to do some really great things for me in my career. But yeah, you'll figure them out quick. Believe me, the good horses are the easiest to train.
Do you learn more from them in the mornings or in the afternoons?
You just know there's an air about them that's different than the rest of them when you really have a truly good horse. And you can see it in the mornings, and then you sure see it in the afternoons.
When you get a horse like that, Dale, does it take them a while to adjust to a new surrounding?
Not long. Not long. I don't think it takes them long at all. If you're going to move a good horse from one barn to the next for whatever the reason, I mean, this was a sad reason for this horse, but you're going from one good barn to another good barn, and they adjust. They'll settle right in.
Yeah, he'll settle in, and Bill Mott will make sure he settles in well. And Baeza looks like he could be really interesting, especially in the care of the Hall of Famer coming up here in 2026. Okay, guys, time for our final point of the week, and then we'll wrap up the show. But we do it this way every single week. So, Timmy, kick us off.
I saw that Dylan Davis, the jockey who was hurt a few months back, is starting. Looks like he's going to getting back on horses this weekend, which is a good sign that he can restart his career, because he was doing pretty well before he got hurt. And I hope everything goes well for him.
Yeah, the door might be open for him in New York. A lot of riders coming to Kentucky. It might be wide open for him if he comes back healthy and feeling good to take over. But my final point, all I got to say is we got Napoleon, the Jockey Club, Heisa, and Churchill Downs, all the ends fighting, and all of it in the press. Let's all get on the same page. Sit down and work things out like you do running your regular businesses every day, and stay out of the press and making us all look bad.
Yep, amen to that. Dale Romans, Tim Wilkin, back with us next week here on I Ask the Answer. Guys, enjoyed it. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the weekend, and we will talk again next week.
All right, guys.
All right, do it all over again next Saturday. If you have a topic you want Dale and Tim to discuss, or you want to hear them debate, you can email those topics to me, Mike at horseracingradio.net, or you can post them on our social media pages, and we will do our best to work them into the show for you going forward. I Ask the Answer is presented every week by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program and the College of Business. I'm back with more, including the answer to this week's Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question. That's next on the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
And they're off.
It's a new era for the Maryland Jockey Club at Laurel Park. The new Pimlico Racecourse will honor more than 151 years of racing history while embracing a bold, modern future. And now more than ever, it pays to be Maryland bred. With more than $17 million in added incentives offered annually, Maryland is one of the most attractive and sustainable jurisdictions for racing locally bred horses. Be part of the new era. Visit Pimlico.com.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woo-hoo. Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Did you know you might be part of the 75% of Americans who think they waste less food than they actually do? Americans toss up more than $382 billion worth of food, costing an average family of 4 nearly $3,000 annually, and costing our planet even more in wasted resources. But did you also know nearly half of all food waste occurs at the household level, which means there's a lot we can do to reduce all this waste, to help your wallet and the planet. Eating leftovers is great, but things like freezing food that you can't eat right away, donating surplus food within your community, and better understanding food date labels can have an even bigger impact. To learn more, visit World Wildlife Fund at wwf.earth/food waste and spread the word that food should never be trash.
Want to get the latest HRRN content directly on your computer or mobile device? Then subscribe to our podcast using the Podbean app or Apple Podcasts. Just go to hrrn.podbean.com on your computer and click follow, or download the Podbean app and search HRRN. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and listen to our latest episodes anytime. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our podcasts today. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Bodie Meister has his mind on business today with a quarter of a mile to go. Secret Circle takes up the chase into second. Straightening away with an eighth of a mile to go. Here comes Secret Circle after Bodie Meister. Baffert is dominating. Cosetti is running a good one. Sabercat is finishing with interest. Coming to the 16th pole, and Bodie Meister is turning the Arkansas Derby into an absolute romp. What a star in the making as Bodie Meister crushes. He wins by 9. Secret Circle holds second. Sabercat and Cosetti in a photo for third. And the next order of business for Bodie Meister is to go to Kentucky and make it up for Empire Maker.
Frank Miramati bringing them home. That was the 2012 Arkansas Derby, dominated by Bodie Meister, and that was a name we talked. You heard us talk about in the previous segment with Dale and Tim, talking about racehorses named for famous athletes. Well, Bodie Meister's an interesting one. They didn't bring him up, and probably because of the fact that Bodie Meister was actually named for Bob Baffert's son, Bodie, but Bodie was named for the incredible skier Bodie Miller. So I guess indirectly, Bodie Meister named in honor of the 6-time Olympic gold medalist, or Olympic medalist, I should say. But yeah, pretty interesting there when you look at that angle. I guess Bodie Meister could have made the list indirectly, but boy, what a performance that was in the 2012 Arkansas Derby. Simply spectacular. I promised you I would bring you the answer to this week's Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question, as I do at the end of every show here on the Equine Forum. So here it is. Lee Delapina, take it away.
Thank you, Mike. What horse was the first thoroughbred ever to be imported into the United States? That was a stallion named Bull Rock, imported from England into Virginia way back in 1730. Thanks to Mojo Racing Partners for this week's Impossible Trivia question. Get your mojo working at mojoracingpartners.com.
Did you get it right? I hope you did. That was a tough one. A reminder, too, that breeding season is here, and your planning is not complete without the free Global Stallions app from Blood Horse and Weatherby's. Browse stallions worldwide and view the standard stallion register page, stud analysis by full crop and racing year, up-to-date stakes winners and results, upcoming entries, auction results, and so much more. You can search from Global Stallions app wherever in the app and Play Store. So make sure you check those out, but it's really cool, the Global Stallions app. What a show. Covered an awful lot of ground. I say that a lot here on the programs. It seems like every Saturday morning we're busy covering a lot of storylines. This morning in particular, getting a chance to talk about the John Battaglia
Memorial, looking ahead to that race coming up. Will we see a horse emerge as a legitimate Kentucky Derby player out of that race? We'll see. Getting a chance to talk with Mark Casse about some of his top horses, including Nitrogen, the champion, who came back February 7th with that win in the Bayakoa. And on the flip side of that, getting a chance to talk to Mark about Sandman, who, as the heavy favorite, ended up finishing 5th in his return. And it was interesting. And by the way, that'll all be part of the podcast of the program if you missed it. But it was interesting when I got to Sandman, Mark said he was okay with that effort. Even though he finished 5th and it was disappointing, he was okay with it because he thought that there were legitimate excuses in play for him. A victim of circumstance. He said he got cut up a little bit coming out of that race. He is not deterred at all. He is going to move forward with Sandman just as they had planned, and he hasn't lost any faith in him at all. Ewing, on the other hand, a horse that we just talked about with Dale and Tim, who looked like maybe he could get on the Derby trail if he had delivered with a big performance in the Ozark Stakes last weekend. Did not. He finished 6th, and that was a head-scratcher for Mark. You heard us talk about that. He was a head-scratcher, and Mark's going to take him back. He's going to take him to Ocala, his home base, and he's going to start working with him and see what might have went wrong. Just didn't show up. Didn't bring his game. It happens. They're not machines. But he really liked what he saw from Silent Tactic in the Southwest win. He thinks Strategic Risk is still going to be fine. Going to see those two square off again in their next start. That should be fun. If you missed any portion of that conversation or any of the show, head back to our website. You can listen to the podcast when you get some time. And not just the Equine Forum, all of our shows at horseracingradio.net. You can do that, too, on your favorite podcast platform. My thanks to Mark Casse and to Kurt Becker and to Joe Kristufek, Dale and Tim, and all the guests who made this show possible here this morning. My thanks to our producer, Lee Delapina, in our Lexington studios, and to Chauncey for handling all of our social media. And, of course, thanks to all of you for tuning in again to the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires. I'm Mike Penna. We'll talk again next week. Go Steelers.